Chapter 424. Origin Wheel Rumble. The strange and powerful blood flames flickered within the bloodlines like flowing light. The temperature within a few hundred feet around Zhuowen rose at a terrifying speed. It was as if even the air was retreating from this temperature. The last wave of blood lightning calamity. Let me see how powerful it is. Zhuowen's feet stepped lightly in the air, and a strange bloody flame burst forth from his feet. His entire body turned into a bloody arrow, and he actually shot directly toward the enormous blood-colored lightning dragon in the distance, looking like he was risking his life. The Blood Thunder Dragon also noticed Zhuowen's tiny figure. It roared at Zhuowen, and its giant tail, which looked like a pillar that could support the heavens, swept through the void. It was like a giant whip that carried the Blood Thunder Dragon, directly hitting the human warrior who was trying to provoke it. Zhuowen is dead meat. The power of the blood-colored lightning dragon's tail is earth-shattering. Even a legendary warrior might not be able to block it. Heh, what an overconfident fellow. How could a human be able to block such heavenly might? When Otto saw this scene in the sky, a mocking smile appeared on his face. Especially when the Crimson Thunder Dragon swung its tail, this smile completely bloomed on his face. He could feel that the blood-colored lightning dragon's aura was extremely powerful. It was even more powerful than the terrifying Lord of the Underworld in the training ground. Even if the Lord of the Underworld was here, he would not be able to block the tail of the blood-colored lightning dragon, let alone Zhuowen. However, an inconceivable scene quickly appeared in the sky. Zhuowen, who was surrounded by blood-red flames, stomped his foot and extended his right hand into the air. Waves of wild blood-red flames surged out from his right hand. The blood-red flames continuously condensed in the air, finally transforming into a blood-red hand that was several dozen feet long. Bang! Zhuowen's enormous bloody hand clenched in the air. It directly caught the enormous tail of the blood-colored lightning dragon. Immediately, the muscles on Zhuowen's right hand swelled. Green veins bulged as he suddenly swung his hand. The blood-colored lightning dragon was sent flying tens of thousands of feet away. Stepping in the air, Zhuowen once again turned into a blood arrow and instantly arrived above the Crimson Thunder Dragon. His left hand also turned into a huge crimson hand with the support of the Crimson Flame. Zhuowen's left hand grabbed the head of the Crimson Thunder Dragon, and his right hand turned into a sky full of fist shadows. He punched the Crimson Thunder Dragon, and the ear-piercing sounds of his fists hitting flesh echoed throughout the world. This sky directly flung the blood-red lightning dragon away. That blood-red lightning dragon was several hundred meters long, and its aura was even more terrifying than the Netherworld King's. Yet it was casually tossed away by this kid. Moreover, he even gave him a round of beating. The smile on Otto's face froze, and his pupils shrank to the size of needles. He stared blankly at the figure surrounded by endless crimson flames in the air, directly beating the domineering blood-red lightning dragon to death. The corners of Otto's eyes twitched as he stared at this scene, and his face turned ghastly pale. He had already decided that he would never dare to show any dissatisfaction towards Zhuowen again. Zhuowen was simply a pervert and a madman. He couldn't afford to offend someone like him. Otto's wasn't the only one who was stunned. Countless members of the abandoned clan in the Holy City were stunned as well. Even the weaker members of the abandoned clan could clearly sense the strength of the blood-red lightning dragon. Its aura was even more terrifying than the Netherworld King's, who had once wreaked havoc on the Sandstone Island. At this moment, the blood-red lightning dragon that was even more terrifying than the Netherworld King had actually been beaten into submission by a young man. Just how powerful was this young man? As the most powerful wave of the Blood Lightning Tribulation, the blood-red lightning dragon was still extremely powerful. Even an ordinary early Second Wheel Ultimate Emperor Realm cultivator would find it extremely difficult to deal with it. Unfortunately, the blood-red lightning dragon had encountered Zhuowen. After all, Zhuowen had possessed the strength to kill the Netherworld King when he was still a half-step Ultimate Emperor Realm cultivator. Now that Zhuowen had overcome the tribulation of the heavens and earth, he had directly advanced to the peak of the First Wheel Ultimate Emperor Realm. His strength had increased by several times compared to when he was still a half-step Ultimate Emperor Realm cultivator. If Zhuowen encountered the Lord of the Underworld again, he only needed one move to kill the Lord of the Underworld. Even if the Lord of the Underworld's true body descended, Zhuowen was not afraid at all. The blood-red lightning dragon was only slightly stronger than the Netherworld King. With Zhuowen's current strength, he could completely suppress the blood-red lightning dragon. Rumble! Rumble! Zhuowen's expression was extremely cold. His fists rained down on the blood-red lightning dragon's enormous head like a storm. Every punch sent out countless bolts of lightning and caused the blood-red lightning dragon to howl miserably. Blood lightning tribulation, end this. With a low roar, the bloody flames on Zhuowen's right fist seemed to have doubled in size. It heavily bombarded the space between the blood-colored lightning dragon's eyebrows. Like a spear, it directly entered between the dragon's eyebrows. Oh! The blood-red lightning dragon wailed as its enormous body collapsed inch by inch. It turned into scattered bolts of blood lightning and dissipated into the air. At the same time, the aura within Zhuowen's body increased layer by layer. Finally, it reached its peak and surged out violently. The powerful aura spread throughout the boundless heavens and earth. It was as if the heavens and earth had stopped at this moment. He broke through? Brother Zhuo has successfully broken through to the second wheel of the ultimate emperor realm. Gu Xian and Hu Wuing exclaimed excitedly as their eyes lit up. In the sky, Yuan gently waved his right hand. A crescent-shaped arc of light shot out from his fingertip. It pierced through space and blasted into a huge mountain not far from the holy city. Rumble! All the lost clan members in the holy city were shocked to discover that the huge mountain in the distance had collapsed inch by inch under Zhuowen's casual attack. It collapsed and turned into ruins. What powerful strength! The power of the second wheel of the ultimate emperor realm is actually so much stronger than that of the first wheel. I'm more than twice as strong as I was before my breakthrough. A trace of joy appeared in Zhuowen's eyes as he looked at the crumbling mountain in the distance. After breaking through to the second wheel of the ultimate emperor realm, Zhuowen discovered that his control over the power of heaven and earth had increased by a lot. Now, a casual attack from him was actually comparable to the full-strength attack of a first-wheel cultivator. Moreover, Zhuowen also discovered that after breaking through to the second wheel of the ultimate emperor realm, the origin energy in his dantian had completely transformed into the power of heaven and earth. The power of heaven and earth in his dantian had transformed into a pair of rotating black gears. As the gears rotated, the power of heaven and earth in his dantian surged like waves. What's this? A trace of doubt appeared on Zhuowen's face as he sensed the pair of black gears in his dantian. He remembered that when he was at the first wheel of the ultimate emperor realm, there weren't any black gears in his dantian. Now that he had broken through to the second wheel of the ultimate emperor realm, a pair had suddenly appeared. These are origin wheels, the symbol of an ultimate emperor realm cultivator. Origin wheels always appear in pairs. When they rotate together, they can slowly increase the quality of the power of heaven and earth, making it much purer. It's precisely because origin wheels don't appear by themselves that your dantian didn't experience any abnormalities when you were at the first wheel of the ultimate emperor realm. Xiao Hei's voice slowly rang out. Origin wheels can't appear by themselves? That's really strange. Zhuowen revealed a strange expression. This was the first time he'd heard of origin wheels. Origin wheels are shaped like gears. They need to interact with each other in order to rotate. An origin wheel alone won't rotate, so it won't be of any use if it appears in your dantian. Xiao Hei explained. Moreover, the appearance of an origin wheel means that the 3 armor souls in your sea of consciousness have the ability to materialize. However, with your current strength, the armor souls will be of less and less help to you. This Dragon Lord doesn't really recommend you to materialize the armor souls. When he heard this, Zhuowen smiled bitterly. He already had 3 armor souls. Back when he was in the Zhuo family, he could be said to be an absolute genius. However, the 9-sword armor soul and giant armor soul had been obtained by Zhuowen from the family's guards using blood essence pills. Their quality was extremely low. When Zhuowen's strength had reached the human king realm, the armor soul's amplification to him had become almost negligible. Now that he had reached the second wheel of the ultimate emperor realm, he had the qualifications to materialize the armor souls. However, he knew that because the quality of the armor souls wasn't high, even if they materialized, they probably wouldn't be as good as a casual attack from him. Apart from the Jade Cauldron Armor Soul, the 9-Sword Armor Soul and Giant Armor Soul provide me with too little amplification. I might as well not use them. As for the Jade Cauldron Armor Soul, other than the Dragon Chi that can't be extracted, it's basically used to assist in alchemy. It's not as useful to me as before. At this moment, Yuan was also a little hesitant. Materialization of the Armor Souls was actually quite tempting to him. After all, when Tyrant Blood and Aoki were fighting, the materialized Armor Souls released were indeed very powerful. However, those two were top experts, and the Armor Souls in their bodies were superior existences. The materialized Armor Souls were extremely useful even in the Four Venerables realm. However, his Armor Soul was too weak. There's no need. The Armor Souls in my body are too weak. Even if they materialize, they won't be of much use to me. There's no need to waste energy on them. In the end, Yuan shook his head and smiled bitterly. You have both the Ice-Fire Sacred Symbol and the Wind-Thunder Sacred Symbol. The Armor Souls are indeed useless to you. Since they're useless, you shouldn't be opposed to me devouring them, right? Xiao He suddenly revealed a wretched smile and rubbed his hands. Hearing that, Yuan was speechless. No wonder Xiao He didn't suggest him to materialize the Armor Souls. It turned out that he wanted to devour the Armor Souls in his sea of consciousness. Alright, take it as a reward for your help over the past few years. However, the Jade Cauldron Armor Soul is very important to me. You shouldn't devour the Jade Cauldron Armor Soul. The 9-Sword Armor Soul and Giant Armor Soul were originally obtained through external means. Naturally, Yuan didn't care about them. However, he couldn't give the Jade Cauldron Armor Soul to Xiao He. After all, Yuan came to the Sky Armor Continent because of the Jade Cauldron. Perhaps it contained a way to go back. Naturally, Yuan couldn't ignore it. Don't worry. I won't touch the Jade Cauldron Armor Soul. Even if you want me to touch it, I won't touch it. Chapter 425. Ascension. Sandstone Island swoosh. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Gu Xian and Hu Wuing stepped through the air and arrived beside Yuan, unable to hide the excitement on their faces. Brother Zhua, congratulations. You've broken through the second wheel of the tribulation of heaven and earth. From now on, you'll be a second wheel ultimate emperor. With your current realm, you can be ranked among the top experts in the entire Muqing County. The two of them congratulated him excitedly. Zhuan smiled slightly. With a wave of his right hand, the reverse spirit puppet, which was not far away from him, instantly appeared behind him with a submissive look. I've kept the two of you waiting. Since I've also broken through to the second wheel ultimate emperor realm, let's set off for the second floor of the Vitality Tower. Zhuan said with a smile. Upon hearing this, Gu Xian and Hu Wuing's eyes flashed with a trace of anticipation. The second floor of the Vitality Tower. In the previous Vitality Tower battles, no warrior from a low-level city had successfully entered it. Their Rattan Armor City was the first team from a low-level city to enter the second floor in history. As he spoke, Yuan silently mobilized the power of the purple-black heart in his body. He could feel that the pulsation of the purple-black heart and the origin of the Sandstone Island came from the same source. As long as he issued an order to the purple-black heart, the origin of the Sandstone Island would not disobey. Rumble. In an instant, the huge Sandstone Island began to tremble violently. This kind of trembling was not up and down, but left and right. At the same time, all the living creatures on the Sandstone Island felt the trembling and revealed looks of fear. Some of the more timid members of the Lost Clan even lay on the ground and trembled. Rise for me! Zhuan suddenly shouted. The purple-black heart in his body pulsed rapidly, releasing purple-black energy to control the origin of the Sandstone Island, making it do the corresponding thing. Rumble! There was another earth-shattering tremor. Immediately, the enormous Sandstone Island rose from the endless ocean and slowly floated into the air. At this moment, the intense tremors also stopped. What's going on? We seem to be rising? The fear on the faces of the countless bereaved in the holy city gradually faded after the trembling stopped. However, they soon felt that something was wrong because they had a feeling of ascension. That's not right. We are clearly still in the holy city, so how can it rise? It must be an illusion. You're wrong. We are indeed rising. To be more precise, the entire island is rising. As soon as these words came out, the many native clans in the holy city burst into an uproar. Although they were extremely skeptical of this speculation, when they saw the geese in the sky slowly descending, they knew that the sandstone island was indeed constantly rising. Ignoring the uproar in the holy city, Zhuowen's group of 3 sat at the top of the holy city, looking up at the gradually approaching blue sky, their hearts full of anticipation and excitement. As for the sandstone island, Yuan knew that after the 3 of them reached the 2nd level of the Vitality Tower, the sandstone island would return to the endless ocean. Therefore, he was not worried about the future of the sandstone island. The sandstone island rose faster and faster, almost reaching the speed of sound. Rings of gas formed around the sandstone island, and ear-piercing explosions came from outside the island. It was extremely terrifying. Boom! The sandstone island's speed was almost at its limit. It directly tore through the void and disappeared into the endless ocean. This was a dark river, deep and vast, even full of the smell of death. In this river was a beautiful starry sky with countless twinkling stars. At this time, a hole was suddenly torn in the dark river, and a huge island emerged. It entered this huge dark river and began to drift with the waves. Is this the 2nd level of the Vitality Tower? The atmosphere doesn't look too good. Looking at the dark river and the vast starry sky, Zhuowen's group of 3 were full of curiosity. The unique scenery of the 2nd level of the Vitality Tower made their eyes light up. I wonder where this dark river ends? Zhuowen frowned slightly. He had just discovered that this dark river was extremely far away, and he could not see the end of it. Bang! After a violent shake, the huge sandstone island stopped in front of a barren island. In front of this barren island, there was a seemingly solid barrier. It was this barrier that blocked the sandstone island's advance. It seems that we can only enter this small island. Feeling the barrier in front of them, Zhuowen's group of 3 knew that the sandstone island could no longer move forward. The 3 of them looked at each other, and in a flash, they directly rushed onto the small island. Following the departure of Zhuowen's group, the sandstone island seemed to be attracted by something. It suddenly leaped and directly tore through space in front of Zhuowen's group, disappearing from the dark river. Obviously, it had returned to the 1st level of the Vitality Tower. The Ascension Island in the 1st level of the Vitality Tower is really mysterious. It can actually directly tear through space in the Vitality Tower. You must know that the spatial barrier in the Vitality Tower is many times stronger than the outside world. Even if I use my full strength, I can't tear through space. Zhuan shook his head and laughed as he watched the sandstone island leave. Gu Xian and Hu Wuying both nodded in agreement. One must know that in the outside world, it was very easy for an ultimate Emperor Realm cultivator to tear through space, but in the Vitality Tower, it was basically impossible for an ultimate Emperor Realm cultivator to do so. This barren island was extremely small, with a circumference of only 10 miles. With the strength of Zhuowen's group, they only needed a breath's time to travel from one side of the island to the other. Moreover, this island was extremely barren. Not a single blade of grass grew on it, and even the ground was dry and cracked. Zhuan suspected that this small island would collapse at any moment. We're surrounded by an endless dark river. Apart from this barren island, there doesn't seem to be anything else. We don't even know where we are right now. What should we do now? Gu Xian's brows furrowed slightly. Hearing this, Yuan and Hu Wuying helplessly shook their heads. They didn't know much about the 2nd level of the Vitality Tower, so they naturally didn't have any good ideas. This small island shouldn't have appeared here for no reason. There must be some mystery behind it. Let's carefully search the island. Perhaps we can find some clues. Zhuowen said calmly. Brother Zhu's words make sense. Let's search the island separately. It'll be more efficient this way. Gu Xian and Hu Wuying both nodded in agreement. Let's leave our imprints on each other. At that time, if anyone has any clues, it'll be easier to contact each other. Zhuan said. As they spoke, the three of them left their imprints on each other's palms. Soon after, they each headed in different directions and began to search for all useful clues on this barren island like a carpet search. Yun chose the southern side of the island. With a stomp of his foot, he began to release his mental energy and began to explore the island's surroundings. I really don't know how the second level of the Vitality Tower is arranged. It actually directly sent us to such a barren island, and there's no hint at all. Zhuan muttered with some dissatisfaction while exploring the island's situation. After searching for about an incense stick's worth of time, Zhuan didn't find anything at all. This caused Zhuan's brows to furrow. There's no clue at all? Could it be that in this boundless underground river, we really have to rely on our strength to cross the river? Zhuan's eyes narrowed as he muttered to himself. The underground river outside the island gave Zhuan an extremely strange feeling. He could feel that there were unknown dangers hidden in the underground river. If he really entered the underground river, perhaps it would be difficult for him to come out alive. This was a kind of feeling from the unseen world. Kid, there's an abnormal fluctuation 100 meters to your left. Go over and take a look. Perhaps you'll find something. Xiao Hei's voice suddenly sounded in his mind. Hearing this, Zhuowen's face revealed a thoughtful expression. The range that Xiao Hei's divine sense could cover was much larger than his mental energy. Zhuowen would never ignore Xiao Hei's advice. Thinking of this, Zhuowen's footsteps took a step and directly swept to the left. In the blink of an eye, Zhuowen's figure was 100 meters to the left. That's a tombstone? This was an open space that was neither big nor small. There was not a single blade of grass growing on the open space. It was extremely barren. However, in the middle of the open space, there was a small mound. In front of the mound, there was a small tombstone that was half the height of a person. This is strange. This island is so barren. Why would someone set up a tombstone here? Zhuowen's heart was filled with doubts as he approached the tombstone. There are words on the tombstone. Let's see what's written on it. Zhuowen quickly noticed the words on the tombstone. The words were profound and clear. It said, "This tombstone is the Netherworld Tablet. Only those who possess the Netherworld Tablet are qualified to cross the Netherworld River. Those who do not possess the Netherworld Tablet and cross the river without permission will be devoured by countless vengeful spirits." Netherworld River? Could the underground river outside the island be called the Netherworld River? Looking at the words on the tombstone, Zhuowen came to a sudden realization. From the hints on the tombstone, your Netherworld River is extremely dangerous. In order to cross your Netherworld River, you should need this so-called Netherworld Tablet. Xiao Hei said with interest. If that's the case, let's just take this tombstone down directly. Nodding slightly, Yun took a step forward and directly took down the tombstone in front of the mound. The strange thing was, after taking down the tombstone, which was half the height of a person, it directly turned into the size of a palm and lay quietly in Zhuowen's palm. The words on it had all disappeared, leaving only a large word, Netherworld. This is interesting. It seems that this Netherworld Tablet should be the key to crossing the Netherworld River. Now, it's time to contact Gu Xian and Hu Wuing to come and meet up with them. With that, Zhuowen activated the Yuan power in his body. The marks left on his hand by Gu Xian and Hu Wuing immediately lit up. After transmitting his position and direction to Gu Xian and Hu Wuing through the marks, Zhuowen carefully looked at the Netherworld Tablet in his hand. The appearance of the Netherworld Tablet was no different from an ordinary wooden tablet. However, the word Netherworld engraved in the center of the tablet revealed a trace of gloomy aura, which made Zhuowen feel uncomfortable all over. Chapter 426. Undead Underworld Kingwhoosh. A whooshing sound resounded and instantly approached the back of Zhuowen's head. Zhuowen's heart trembled. He took a step back and a sharp gust of wind brushed past Zhuowen's ear. With a gentle pinch of his hands, Zhuowen's pupils shrank as he realized that the thing that had ambushed him was a white and fat maggot. At that moment, the maggot was still wriggling between Zhuowen's fingers. Maggot? Zhuowen's eyes were filled with a strange expression as he frowned slightly. Your reaction is pretty good. You actually managed to dodge my pet. A sinister voice came from behind him, sending chills down his spine. Following the source of the voice, he turned around and saw a thin and long figure standing on top of the mound. The reason why he was called a bamboo was because this figure had no muscles at all. Instead of calling it a person, it would be more accurate to call it a corpse. This corpse was obviously dug out from the mound of dirt just now. There was not a single piece of intact muscle on its body. Even if there was, it was just rotten flesh. There were even countless white maggots wriggling in the rotten flesh. It was an extremely disgusting sight. With a squeeze of his right hand, Yuan directly crushed the maggot between his fingers. He looked at the corpse in front of him calmly and said, "Are you dead or alive? Or are you a living dead?" This corpse was obviously a little surprised by Zhuowen's calm reaction. His appearance could be said to be extremely disgusting and terrifying. Even some powerful warriors would more or less reveal a strange look when they saw him for the first time. However, this ordinary-looking young man in front of him had been extremely calm from the beginning to the end. This made the corpse rather suspicious. "My name is Undead Underworld King. I am the ruler of this endless Styx River. Kid, if you don't want to die, kneel down and beg for mercy. Also, obediently offer half of your blood essence as a reward for me. If the blood essence in your body can satisfy this lord, perhaps this lord will be happy and let you go." This corpse called Undead Underworld King laughed viciously. The degree of its laughter was comparable to Xiao Hei's, causing Zhuowen to frown again. "Oh, then do you know how to use this netherworld tablet? This netherworld tablet was taken from your grave. You should know its use." Zhuowen nodded seriously, holding the netherworld tablet in his hand, and asked. The undying underworld monarch raised his head and puffed out his chest. A trace of arrogance appeared on his half-rotten face as he said, "The underworld tablet is this king's tombstone. This king naturally knows the use of it. However, why should I tell you? Unless you use half of your blood essence." Seeing undying underworld king revealing a prideful expression, the corner of Zhuo Wen's eyes twitched. This face that could no longer be called a face was actually able to make such a difficult expression. It was truly difficult for this undying underworld king to make such a difficult expression. "Since you don't want to say it, I can only beat you until you say it." Shaking his head, Zhuowen's eyes turned cold. With a stomp, he turned into a black shadow and rushed towards Undead Underworld King. "You really don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Since you don't want to listen to my suggestion, you can die." Undead Underworld King's rotten face was filled with malevolence, causing Undead Underworld King to look even more terrifying. "Rumble." As he spoke, the undying Underworld King also threw a punch with his thin arm. That seemingly weak arm actually caused the air to spiral wherever it passed. Whooshing sounds could be heard as it tore through the air. Its strength was actually abnormally powerful. Bang! The two fists collided in midair. Soon after, waves of surging air waves surged out. Following which, the ground around the two started to crack inch by inch. Countless gravel involuntarily floated in the air. The air seemed to have solidified at this moment. Dang dang dang. Both of them retreated over 10 steps at the same time. They faced each other from a distance of 10 meters away. "Your strength is not weak. You can actually force me to retreat over 10 steps. Undying Underworld King frowned slightly. Zhuo Wen's strength had somewhat exceeded his imagination. Zhuo was actually evenly matched with him. Undead Underworld King was the ruler of this part of the Nether River. His strength was above any living being in the Nether Sea. His strength was so great that he could shatter mountains and move mountains. However, the strength of this brat before him was not any weaker than him. This naturally caused Undead Underworld King to be shocked. Zhuo squinted his eyes. He was also surprised by the strength of Undead Underworld King. Even if Zhuowen did not use the Jade Stone body tempering technique, his strength could reach the level of 1,000,000 Jin. It was comparable to the strength of a legendary warrior. However, this undying Underworld King, who was like a pile of rotten meat, actually possessed a strength that was not weaker than his own. This caused Zhuowen to be quite shocked. "Brat, you have some skills. You are qualified to make me use my true strength." Undying Underworld King chuckled. The smile on his face was getting more and more annoying. His skinny feet stomped on the ground, and his body slowly swelled up. Waves of ink-black gas revolved around Undying Underworld King. Undead Underworld will technique. With a low roar, Undead Underworld King's body swelled to the limit. The rotten meat on his body fell off. Tough black skin grew out from the white bones and radiated a dazzling luster. "Brat, after I use the Undead Underworld will technique, my strength will be doubled. My strength is not something you can imagine. Therefore, I am willing to give you another chance. Give me half of your blood essence and become my eternal servant. Then I will let you go." At this moment, Undead Underworld King's body was completely different from before. There was no longer a trace of rotten meat on his body. Instead, he had tough and shiny skin. Even his body had grown to a size of several zhang, just like a small hill. Moreover, the aura on Undead Underworld King's body was much stronger than before. It was like a 10,000 zhang tall mountain crushing down. Even Zhuan could not help but bend his knees under this pressure. "Idiot!" Zhuo Wen faintly spat out these words and did not say anything else. Instead, he stomped his feet and blood veins wrapped around his entire body. Waves of strange blood flames surged out from the surface of his body. After Undead Underworld King used the Undead Underworld will technique, his strength was indeed very strong. However, he was only slightly stronger than Underworld King. He had the strength of an initial stage second wheel emperor. This strength was not enough to catch Zhuo Wen's attention. After all, Zhuo Wen had just undergone the second cycle of the tribulation of the world and successfully reached the second cycle of the Ultimate Emperor realm. Although he was only at the early stage of the second cycle of the Ultimate Emperor realm, Zhuo Wen's strength had skyrocketed to the mid-stage of the second cycle of the Ultimate Emperor realm with the support of the blood flames. Therefore, Zhuo was not afraid of Undead Underworld King at all. On the contrary, he should be afraid of Undead Underworld King. "You refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. Brat, it's useless even if you kneel down and beg me now. I will suck all of your blood essence dry." Undead Underworld King smiled sinisterly. His swollen body swelled even more. His entire body was like a mountain pressing down on Zhuan. Moreover, every step he took caused the ground to tremble violently. "Let's see if you have the ability." Zhuo Wen was awe-inspiring and fearless. His clothes fluttered despite the absence of wind. The blood veins on his exposed skin were dazzling to the extreme, emitting an extremely high temperature that caused the surrounding air to boil. The Undying Underworld King arrived within 3 meters of Zhuo Wen in an instant. Its gigantic fist, which was as thick as a tree, smashed toward Zhuo Wen's face with a strange spiraling motion. The air pressure around its fist formed a horrifying gigantic cyclone. Zhuan bent his knees slightly. His entire body was as immovable as a mountain. When Undead Underworld King's huge fist was only a few inches away from his face, his right hand suddenly stretched out as if it was piercing through space. He grabbed the huge fist by a hair's breadth. A powerful force erupted, causing Undead Underworld King's fist to not move an inch. Undead Underworld King's expression changed slightly when he felt the huge resistance on his fist. He did not expect the brat in front of him to be so much stronger than before. "Looks like you're not simple. You actually did not use your full strength just now. However, even so, you still have to die." Undead Underworld King's eyes were cold. His empty left hand revealed 5 white bone spikes. Caught off guard, he directly pierced Zhuo Wen's left chest. Puchi. Zhuan did not expect Undead Underworld King to have such a move. His heart was pierced directly by Undead Underworld King. Instantly, a large amount of blood flowed out. "Brat, this is my hidden fatal attack. You will die a worthy death if you die under my Underworld Claw. You can rest in peace. I will definitely not waste a single drop of your blood essence." Undead Underworld King revealed a complacent smile when he saw that his attack had succeeded. That left claw that pierced Zhuo Wen's heart deliberately twisted randomly, crushing the heart in Zhuo Wen's left chest. However, Undead Underworld King soon discovered that something was amiss. after the heart of the young man in front of him was pierced by him, his expression did not change at all. It was as though he did not feel any pain at all. Furthermore, what shocked Undead Underworld King was that after his heart was crushed, Zhuowen's breathing did not become disordered. Instead, it was extremely stable. What's going on? This brat's heart has been crushed by me. Why does he look fine? Undead Underworld King's pupils contracted to the size of needles. He looked at Zhuowen with an inconceivable expression. This move is indeed well hidden. Even I did not discover it. However, it is useless against me. Zhuowen grinned. The blood veins on his right arm became much more dazzling at this moment. Following which, Zhuowen clenched his right hand. Kacha! The crisp sound of bones cracking could be heard. Undead Underworld King's arm that was as thick as a tree was actually broken by Zhun. At the same time, Zhuowen's right arm that was ready to attack was filled with surging blood flames. It turned into a blood arc in the air and blasted onto Undead Underworld King's chest. Kacha! Chapter 427. Crossing the river Styx, the Undying Underworld King looked at the calm young man in front of him in disbelief. He couldn't understand why this young man looked as if nothing had happened even though his sharp claws had pierced through the young man's heart. He didn't even seem to be injured. I'm sorry. In a sense, I'm immortal. As long as it's not a vital part, I'm immortal, even if my heart is pierced. Shaking his head, Zhuowen smiled faintly. The wound on his left chest that was almost pierced through by the Undying Underworld King was healing at a speed visible to the naked eye. Within 3 breaths, the terrifying wound was completely healed. There was not even a scar left. Seeing Zhuowen's terrifying recovery ability, the Undying Underworld King's eyes widened as if he had seen a ghost. The young man in front of him was clearly a human. How could he have such a terrifying recovery ability? However, the Undying Underworld King's doubts could no longer be answered because Zhuowen's fist, which was wrapped in bloody flames, grew larger and larger in his eyes. Then, the Undying Underworld King felt his vision go dark. After dealing with the Undying Underworld King, Zhuowen shrugged and frowned. This Undying Underworld King might be the key to leaving the river Styx. Unfortunately, this guy is not friendly at all. It seems that I have to think of a way to leave the river Styx. Whoosh whoosh. At this moment, 2 whooshing sounds were heard. Soon after, Gu Xian and Hu Wuing arrived in front of Zhuowen from afar. Brother Zhuo, you summoned us in such a hurry. Did you find some clues? Gu Xian said with a smile with excitement on her face. Yes, I did find some clues. This is the underworld token I just obtained. It's said to be a pass to leave the river Styx, but I don't know how to use it. The only person who knew how to use it, the Undying Underworld King, was killed by me just now. Throwing the underworld token to Gu Xian and Hu Wuing, Zhuowen pointed at the dead Undying Underworld King behind him and began to narrate what had happened just now. Underworld token? Undead Underworld King? However, that Undying Underworld King was truly hateful. The moment he appeared, he wanted to suck Brother Zhuo's blood essence. So what if he was killed? Since this nether tablet is the key to passing through the nether river, we might be able to find a way to use this nether tablet if we try to figure it out. Gu Xian and Hu Wuing didn't blame Zhuowen at all. After all, if they were in the same situation, they wouldn't hesitate to take action. However, after looking at the netherworld token over and over again, they finally gave up in disappointment. This was because they couldn't figure out what the netherworld token was for. What's going on with the 2nd floor of the elemental tower? The 3 of us have just entered, and we're actually going to be trapped on this desolate island? Hu Wuing said somewhat irritably. Ren and Gu Xian looked at each other and smiled helplessly. Just now, the 3 of them had examined the netherworld tablet one by one. They had used all the methods they could think of, but they still couldn't discover the mystery of the netherworld tablet. Frick, frick. A creepy sound suddenly sounded in the open space, causing Zhuowen and the other 2's muscles to tense up. They looked around vigilantly. Don't be so nervous. TSK brat, you really hurt me just now. You actually made me take so long to recover from it. Don't you know how to respect the old and love the young? Don't you know how to be gentle? A sharp voice sounded in the open space and reverberated. Zhuan and the other two only then noticed that the owner of the voice was the undying underworld king, who was lying on the ground and had been beaten into a pile of rotten meat by Zhuan. At this time, the undying underworld king was wriggling and twisting in a very strange posture on the ground. Then, countless white maggots covered the undying underworld king's body. In an instant, the undying underworld king's muscles were eaten clean, leaving only a black skeleton. The black skeleton slowly stood up and stretched. It turned 180 degrees on the spot and yawned. It said lazily, "I still like the feeling of having no flesh. That sticky flesh sticking to my body is really disgusting." Looking at the shameless black skeleton in front of them, Zhuan and the other two's foreheads were full of black lines. However, they didn't let down their guard. After all, the undying underworld king wasn't a good person. "You're actually not dead?" Zhuan narrowed his eyes and said in surprise. "Why are you making such a fuss? Since I'm called the undying underworld king, it means that I have an immortal body. If I'm killed by you so easily, do you think I'm worthy of being called the undying underworld king?" The black eye sockets of the undying underworld king glared at Zhuan with hidden bitterness, causing Zhuan and the other two to have goosebumps. Hearing this, Zhuan frowned. He didn't expect the undying underworld king to have an immortal body. Although the attack power of the undying underworld king wasn't high, the difficulty of dealing with the immortal body was quite a headache for Zhuan. "Why are the three of you so nervous? It's not like I'm going to eat you. Also, your strength is quite good. Moreover, your recovery speed is also very terrifying. It's quite impressive for you to be able to kill me." The undying underworld king rested his chin on his right hand and gently stroked his chin with his fingers. The originally expressionless skeleton actually forced this fellow to make a difficult movement and smile. "What are you trying to do?" Zhuan felt that he couldn't see through the undying underworld king and asked cautiously. "Don't worry. I won't look for you to fight. Although I'm immortal, I'm not so cheap as to be abused by others. To tell you the truth, I'm the ruler of this river Styx. In other words, I'm in charge of this river Styx. Don't you want to cross the river Styx? Of course, it's not wrong to look for me." The undying underworld king once again revealed his signature cheap smile that deserved a beating. "You're willing to help us cross the river Styx?" Gu Exang quickly asked. "You've also noticed that the entrance to the second floor of the Origin Chi Tower is this vast and boundless river Styx. And the underworld token is the pass to cross the river Styx. Only by crossing the river Styx can you reach the core of the Trial Mountain." The undying underworld king spoke with assurance. "Trial Mountain? Since that's the case, we've already obtained the underworld token. How do we cross the river Styx?" Zhuan slightly frowned. "After obtaining the underworld token, you still need a ferryman. Just the underworld token alone is useless. And this ferryman is me. If you want to invite me, you either have to pay half of your blood essence or survive 100 rounds with me. Hee, you little brat are very strong. You've directly killed me. This is the 100th life I've lost these days. I really don't know how you humans cultivate. You're so young, but each of you has such powerful strength. I really envy you." The undying underworld king shook his head and said. Hearing this, Zhuan suddenly understood. No wonder the undying underworld king asked for half of his blood essence the first time he met him. It turned out that it was the reward for crossing the river Styx. Of course, if he wasn't willing to pay, he could only fight. However, what made Zhuan quite surprised was that the undying underworld king had lost 100 lives in this period of time. Obviously, there were at least 100 people in the team in front of him whose strength was not weaker than him. It's really a gathering of geniuses. Sure enough, the selected teams aren't that simple. Zhuan knew that those who could kill the undying underworld king were at least at the second wheel of the ultimate emperor realm. This also meant that there were at least 100 people in the team in front of them who were at least at the second wheel of the ultimate emperor realm. There were probably more than that at the first wheel of the ultimate emperor realm. So, guarding the gate is not an easy job. If I'm not careful, my life will be in danger. To think that I, the dignified undying underworld king, have actually fallen to such a state. This is really The black skeleton in front of them shook his head. The stiff skeleton face actually had a very difficult expression of melancholy. This made Zhuowen and the other two speechless. They secretly slandered him in their hearts. Is it really suitable for a skeleton to pretend to be melancholy? After sighing and lamenting, the undying underworld king turned to Zhuowen and the other two and said, "Come with me. I'll bring you across the underworld river." Saying that, the undying underworld king came to the southern edge of the small island. With a light wave of his right hand, a dilapidated small boat suddenly appeared on the shore. Shortly after, the undying underworld king jumped into the small boat. An ear-piercing creaking sound rang out and the small boat actually started to sway unstably. "The three of you come in. This boat is very sturdy. Don't worry." Within the small boat, the undying underworld king waved his hand, indicating for Zhuowen and the other two to enter the boat. Looking at the small boat that was on the verge of collapsing, the corners of Zhuowen and the other two's eyes twitched. They were extremely doubtful if the boat of the undying underworld king could really sail out. However, after weighing the pros and cons, the three of them finally decided to board the pirate boat of the undying underworld king. After all, they could only trust the undying underworld king now. Moreover, even if the undying underworld king wanted to do something, Yun was not afraid. With Zhuowen's current strength, he could easily kill the undying underworld king in an instant. The underworld river is filled with endless resentment. If you stay in the underworld river for too long, some people with weak minds will easily be bewitched by the resentful spirits in the underworld river. They will then jump into the underworld river to die. Therefore, the three of you should hold onto the underworld token properly. The underworld token can protect your mind from being affected by the resentment. The undying underworld king said solemnly. Hearing this, the three of them understood the seriousness of this matter. After entering the boat, they could also feel the surging resentment in the underworld river sweeping towards them. Fortunately, the broken boat of the undying underworld king had a layer of restriction that blocked the resentment outside. Sush. Under the activation of Zhuowen's Yuan energy, the underworld token emitted a layer of strange black barrier that enveloped the three of them. This underworld token is really magical. Being in this black barrier, my heart suddenly feels peaceful. Gu Xian said in surprise. Zhuowen and Hu Wuing nodded their heads. The barrier released by the underworld token had the effect of calming one's mind. At this moment, they felt much more comfortable and stable in their hearts. All right, everyone hold on tight. Let's set sail. Chapter 428. Training Square. The underworld river was filled with dark mist. Coupled with the fact that the water of the underworld river was dark black, Yuan actually felt a strange atmosphere as he sat in the small boat. A woo! Woo! Mournful wails constantly reverberated in the surroundings, causing their eardrums to hurt. Looking towards the source of the sound, Bowen and the other two discovered that there were actually countless vengeful spirits hidden in the underworld river. These vengeful spirits were similar in color to the underworld river, so they hadn't noticed them when they were on the island. Now that they were sitting in the small boat and coming into close contact with the underworld river, they discovered these terrifying and ferocious vengeful spirits. There are actually so many vengeful spirits. No wonder the underworld tablet warned us not to enter the underworld river without permission. It turns out that there are actually so many vengeful spirits in there. In this boundless underworld river, even an ultimate Emperor Realm cultivator would find it difficult to survive if they were to fall in. The underworld river was boundless, and the vengeful spirits hidden in the underworld river were innumerable. Just the radius of a few dozen meters around the boat was densely packed with vengeful spirits. At a glance, there were at least a few 100,000 of them. And this was just a radius of a few dozen meters. The entire underworld river was so large, so how terrifying would the number of vengeful spirits hidden in it be? Looking at the countless vengeful spirits with their oily green eyes, they scrambled to gather around the boat. Mournful wails rang out incessantly, causing Zhuowen and the other two's scalps to go numb. Fortunately, you didn't directly enter the underworld river to cross the other side. I'm certain that even a kid like you wouldn't necessarily be able to last an incense stick's worth of time in the underworld river. You would be swallowed up by these countless vengeful spirits. The undying underworld king chuckled as he pointed at Xion. Zhuan laughed bitterly when he heard this. After seeing the vengeful spirits in the underworld river, he was indeed not confident that he would be able to cross the underworld river by himself. However, Zhuan still believed that he would be able to escape unscathed after entering the underworld river. After all, he still had many trump cards on him. Undying underworld king, how long will it take to reach the training mountain? Zhuan frowned as he looked at his surroundings that were still far away. Look at how impatient you are. Don't worry, the training mountain is on the other side of the underworld river. There's still about 2 hours. The undying underworld king grinned. Zhuan nodded slightly and sat down cross-legged on the deck. Since he still had 2 hours, he could use this time to consolidate his cultivation. After all, he'd only just advanced into the second wheel of the ultimate emperor realm. The underworld river was 9 underworld rivers underworld river. At the center of the underworld river was a tall mountain peak. The underworld river was a mountain peak was a mountain that towered over the clouds was 9. The world river, underworld rivers underworld river was. Underworld river was the underworld river was a underworld river. The trial mountain was extremely large, occupying almost 2/3 of the land. The remaining 1/3 was densely covered by the Black Forest, looking extremely strange and terrifying. This continent was close to the edge of the Nether River. There was an extremely vast plaza. In the center of the plaza stood a huge stone tablet. It was 1,000 feet tall and 100 feet wide. From afar, it looked like a mountain protruding from the ground. It was majestic, magnificent, and lofty. At this time, the square was filled with many teams. At a glance, there were close to 10,000 people. These people were naturally the teams that had successfully advanced to the second level of the Vitality Tower. There were 1,000 teams that had successfully advanced to the second floor of the Origin Chi Tower, and each team had more than 10 people. Together, there were nearly 10,000 people. Fortunately, the plaza was extremely spacious and could accommodate hundreds of thousands of people. Therefore, the plaza was not crowded with nearly 10,000 people. There were 5 groups that were the most dazzling in the square. They faintly became the focal point of everyone in the square. Quite a number of people from the super cities revealed a rich fear in their eyes when they saw these 5 groups. These 5 teams were naturally the 5 superpowers of the prefecture. They were the House of Marquis Qin, the Jade Lady Star Court, the House of Marquis Baichuan, the House of Marquis Yongxing, and the House of Ruling Sword. Moreover, there were more than 20 people in these 5 teams. All of them were strong and powerful. Are the teams assigned to the Sandstone Island all trash? It's been more than a month, and we still haven't arrived at the trial square. A young man in white with a gloomy expression cursed fiercely in the team of the House of Marquis Qin. If Yuan was here, he would definitely be able to recognize that this white-clothed youth was none other than Lu Yuanhua. Third brother, I heard that the last island is a sandstone island, right? I recall that the Tengjia City team was on the sandstone island. The calm LV Yongxing rubbed his palms as he spoke with a faint smile. Oh, so it's Tengjia City. That Zhuan's strength isn't weak. Second brother, do you think that Tengjia City can enter the second level of the Vitality Tower? Lu Yuanhua's eyes suddenly revealed a trace of a sinister expression as he spoke with a gloomy smile. Third brother, aren't you overestimating that Zhuan too much? That Zhuan does have some ability, but he's like an ant in front of a true ultimate emperor realm expert. Moreover, the Sandstone Island has 2 high-level cities, Thunder Universe City and Nine Dragon City. These 2 teams aren't simple. Do you think that Zhuan has a chance to enter the second level? LV Yongxing sneered. Since it's Nine Dragon City and Thunder Universe City, then it seems that bastard Zhuan won't be able to enter the second level. What a pity. I originally wanted to teach that brat a lesson in the Vitality Tower, but now it seems that I won't have the chance. Lu Yuanhua shook his head as he spoke gloomily. There will be plenty of opportunities. Once the Vitality Tower is over, I'll accompany you to Tengjia City to eliminate him as soon as possible. Otherwise, there will be endless trouble in the future. At this point, LV Yongxing's eyes were filled with killing intent. That's true. Once the Vitality Tower is over, I'll let that Jun know the consequences of offending me. Lu Yuanhua sneered as the corners of his mouth lifted. Not far from the house of Marquis Qin's team was the Jade Lady Celestial Court. The Jade Lady Celestial Court's team was composed entirely of women. These women were dressed in light muslin, and their figures were graceful and elegant. In this square, they were undoubtedly an extremely beautiful scenery. In the square, many contestants' eyes were faintly fixed on the Jade Lady Celestial Court's team. In the depths of their eyes, there was intoxication and infatuation. In particular, the perfect figure in front of the Jade Lady Celestial Court's team firmly attracted countless gazes. This figure was the first of the younger generation of the Jade Lady Celestial Court, Luo Xing. At the same time, she was also a top genius on the Green Emperor list. In the entire Muqin County, Luo Xing's cultivation was second only to LV Tao of the house of Marquis Qin. She was only 19 years old, and her talent was even more terrifying than LV Tao's. The reason why her cultivation was weaker than LV Tao's was because her cultivation time was much shorter than LV Tao's. Luo Xing stood there, slender and elegant, like a blooming white lotus. She had a kind of otherworldly temperament that could only be seen from afar. It was this natural temperament that firmly attracted countless gazes. Luo Xing was obviously used to the blazing gazes around her. On her hazy face, there was not the slightest change in expression. Instead, she looked extremely calm and indifferent. Luo Xing of the Jade Lady Celestial Court is really a peerless genius. Not only is his talent monstrous, even his aura has become even more attractive with the passage of time. LV Yuanhua's eyes were intoxicated as he stared at Luo Xing's otherworldly figure nearby and muttered, "Luo Xing is the most amazing woman in Muqin County. Countless people call her the most beautiful woman in the county. Which man is not obsessed with such a woman? But you don't have to think about Luo Xing. In Muqin County, I'm afraid that only my eldest brother is worthy of her." LV Yongxing shrugged. "Second brother? You don't have to hit me like this, do you? Although I know that I don't have a chance with a woman like Luo Xing, I can at least satisfy my desire. I just don't know when Luo Xing will become my sister-in-law." Lu Yuanhua said helplessly, Second brother is only reminding you to act according to your ability. Even I, your second brother, would feel ashamed of my inferiority before a woman like Luo Xing, let alone you. However, there are many beauties in the Jade Lady Celestial Court. That Qing Lian is not bad." LV Yongxing put his hands behind his back and looked past Luo Xing. Instead, his gaze landed on the green-clothed woman standing behind Luo Xing. She also had an otherworldly temperament. The green-clothed woman was Qing Lian, who was on good terms with Yun. Later, when Jun was almost killed by LV Yongxing, it was Qing Lian who came to his rescue. It could be said that Jun owed Qing Lian a lot of favors. At this moment, in the Jade Lady Celestial Court team, Luo Xing frowned slightly and glanced at Qing Lian behind her. She said indifferently, "Qing Lian, I'm afraid that Rattan Armor City won't be able to make it. Although Zhuowen's talent is not bad, his strength and talent are far from enough in the Origin Qi Tower where geniuses gather." Qing Lian lowered her head slightly and smiled bitterly. In fact, when she learned that Zhuowen had been assigned to the Sandstone Island, she knew that it would be extremely difficult for Rattan Armor City to successfully ascend to the second level. The teams on the Sandstone Island were too strong. Even with Zhuowen's half-step Ultimate Emperor realm strength, it would be difficult for him to successfully ascend to the second level. Once bitten, twice shy. In the future, when you meet geniuses from these so-called low-level cities, you need to think twice before you act. You should know that the Heavenly Armor continent has no lack of geniuses, but rather experts. No matter how talented a genius is, if he doesn't grow up, he's just an illusion. Previously, you spent a lot of effort on Zhuowen. At the same time, you also used your authority in the Jade Lady Celestial Court to help Zhuowen a lot. I won't pursue this matter any further. Just take it as a lesson. In the future, I hope that you will act more prudently. Don't let your emotions affect your rationality. Do you understand? Luo Xing said in a low voice. With a bitter smile, Qing Lian replied softly, Senior Sister Luo Xing, Qing Lian will remember your teachings. I won't do it again. Since you know your mistake, that's good. Luo Xing nodded in satisfaction and looked away. Chapter 429. Arrival Dong. The distant sound of a bell reverberated in every corner of the square, immediately attracting the attention of countless people in the square. The bell has rung again. It seems that another team has crossed the river Styx and arrived at the training square. If I remember correctly, this should be the last team. I wonder which city this team belongs to. I remember that the last ascending island in the Endless Ocean is the Sandstone Island. It is said that the competition on the Sandstone Island is extremely fierce. There are actually teams from 4 high-class cities appearing at the same time. 2 of them are the extremely famous Nine Dragons City and Thunder Universe City. If I'm not wrong, the team that has arrived at the square should be one of the 2 teams. In front of the square was the endless river Styx. At this time, the dark fog above the river Styx began to roll. A lonely boat slowly sailed in the black fog. The teams of the 5 major forces in the center of the square also focused their attention on the boat that was gradually approaching the river Styx. They wanted to see who this team that had made them wait for nearly a month was. If I'm not wrong, this team should be from Nine Dragon City. I know Feng Long from Nine Dragon City. That guy's realm is extremely high. He's a guy who can break through to the Ultimate Emperor realm at any time. LV Yongxing, who was in the house of Marquis Qin's team, said confidently. Second Prince, you're quite confident. Maybe it's Thunder Universe City. After all, the Thunder Universe City's Thunder Light Body Tempering secret technique is extremely famous. After cultivating it to the advanced stage, its power almost reaches an unfathomable level. A somewhat discordant voice sounded. Su Tianliang, no one will think you're mute if you don't speak. I'm afraid you still don't know that Pang Tong from Thunder Universe City once exchanged pointers with Feng Long. In the end, Feng Long won. Do you still think that the last team will be from Thunder Universe City? LV Yongxing said with slight displeasure. The person who spoke to refute LV Yongxing was a young man in a sky blue robe. He was playing with 2 round balls in his hands. At this time, the young man's mouth was full of ridicule. This person was the eldest son of the Marquis of Baichuan and one of the top geniuses of the house of Marquis Qin, Su Tianliang. His strength was above LV Yongxing's, and he was ranked around 80th on the Green Emperor list. There are no absolutes in this world. Second Prince, you are so certain and you don't have any concrete evidence to prove it. Naturally, it is difficult for me to be convinced. Su Tianliang looked down and said with an indifferent expression. It's up to you whether you believe it or not. I'm well aware of Feng Long's strength. He's definitely the undisputed number 1 amongst all the quasi-ultimate monarch realm cultivators. Moreover, I'm afraid that Feng Long has already broken through to the ultimate emperor realm. LV Yongxing didn't really want to argue with Su Tianliang and said coldly, could it be that the 2 of you are certain that the last team to appear is from either Nine Dragon City or Thunder Universe City? Maybe a Dark Horse team will appear on the Sandstone Island. Within the Eternal Prosperity Marquis group, the tall and sturdy Qin Batian grinned as he spoke with deep meaning. Brother Qin thinks too much. There are only a total of 4 teams from high-grade cities on the Sandstone Island. Among them, there's no need to mention what kind of trash Green Dragon City and Jeju City are. I'm afraid that even some of the stronger intermediate-grade cities are much stronger than these 2 trash teams. As for the strength of Nine Dragon City and Thunder Universe City, everyone knows that apart from these 2 cities, does Brother Qin believe that the remaining intermediate-grade cities and even lower-grade cities can compare to Nine Dragon City and Thunder Universe City? LV Yongxing said with a faint smile. I'm just saying. Actually, I also feel that the possibility of this team being from Nine Dragon City is higher. Qin Batian shrugged. Within the house of Marquis Qin's group, LV Tao, who was originally sitting cross-legged, slowly opened his eyes and said indifferently, there's no need to argue. When the ferryman sends that team to the plaza, the result will naturally be clear. The moment LV Tao opened his mouth, the entire plaza became extremely silent. Regardless of whether it was Su Tianliang or Qin Badian, they did not speak anymore. Instead, they looked at the calm figure sitting cross-legged with fear in their eyes. Ever since LV Tao had broken through to the ultimate emperor realm, he had become more and more unfathomable. Although Qin Badian and Su Tianliang were not afraid of LV Yongxing, they could not help but be afraid of LV Tao, the #1 genius of the house of Marquis Qin. Big Brother's words are reasonable. Now it's all empty talk. Only when we see it will we know. Looking at Su Tianliang and Qin Badian, who had suddenly become silent, LV Yongxing's face revealed a trace of delight as he chuckled. At the same time, the boat in the Netherworld River finally reached the shore. The ear-piercing sound of the boat hitting the shore slowly rang out, causing the plaza to become even quieter. Instead, everyone's attention was focused on the small boat in front of the plaza. Under everyone's gaze, 3 figures slowly disembarked from the boat and entered the plaza. Why are there so few people? Only 3 people. That's right. There are at least 6 or 7 people in an intermediate city, and at least 8 people in an advanced city. Why are there only 3 people in this team? Could it be that a few people died in the first level? It should be. In the endless ocean of the first level of the Vitality Tower, the difficulty of the thousands of islands is different. Some are simple, some are difficult. I'm afraid that the trial in the Sandstone Island is much more difficult than usual, so it's normal to lose a few people there. That's not right. Why don't I know these 3 people? They're not from Nine Dragons City or Thunder Universe City at all. I've seen the members of these 2 cities. They're not from Nine Dragons City at all. Zhuowen and the other 2 slowly walked into the plaza. When their faces appeared in front of everyone, it immediately caused a commotion. It's actually Zhuowen? How is it possible? How can Rattan Armor City compete with Nine Dragons City and Thunder Universe City? LV Yongxing and Lu Yuanhua's faces instantly stiffened. They stared at the young man in front of the 3 figures who appeared at the entrance of the plaza in disbelief. When LV Yitao heard Zhuowen's name, his eyelids twitched slightly. He raised his eyes and glanced at the 3 figures in the distance indifferently, then no longer paid attention. Lu Yuanhua and LV Yongxing had told him about Zhuowen, but he had never paid attention to it. After all, at his level, there were not many geniuses who could enter his eyes. Even if Zhuowen succeeded in advancing to the 2nd level of the Vitality Tower by virtue of his identity in a low-level city, LV Tao still could not arouse too much interest because his vision was not limited to the small Muqing County, but the entire Qingxian Empire and the glorious battle of the 9 counties in a few years. In the Jade Lady Star Court team, Qing Lian, who was originally gloomy, saw the tall and slender figure at the entrance of the plaza, and her watery eyes involuntarily filled with a touch of mist. Zhuowen did not let her down. He actually passed through the 1st level of the Vitality Tower and reached the 2nd level. Senior Sister Luo Xing. Zhuowen has successfully entered the 2nd level. I believe that my decision should be right. This Zhuowen should be able to help our Jade Lady Star Court in this battle for the Vitality Tower. Qing Lian's beautiful eyes became brighter and brighter, staring at Luo Xing's back with a happy smile. Luo Xing was silent for a moment. She stared deeply at Zhuowen and said lightly, "It's really surprising. The competition on the Sandstone Island is extremely fierce." This Zhuowen was able to seize control of the Sandstone Island from the 2 strong teams of Nine Dragons City and Thunder Universe City. It's really not easy, but it's hard to say whether this boy can help our Jade Lady Star Court. If this boy can smoothly enter the 3rd level, then he is really qualified to help us. Otherwise, there's nothing to talk about. Although Luo Xing's attitude was still as cold as water, Qing Lian's face was still full of smiles. She understood her eldest senior sister very well. Luo Xing's usual behavior was extremely cold and even indifferent. It was extremely difficult to make her completely accept something. In the past, Luo Xing was suspicious of Zhuowen. If it were not for Qing Lian's insistence, Luo Xing would not even pay attention to a boy from such a low-level city. But now, Zhuowen's performance was obviously enough to enter Luo Xing's eyes. At least, Luo Xing was not as opposed to Qing Lian as before. It was this slight change in Luo Xing's attitude that made Qing Lian very happy. Her beautiful eyes looking at Zhuan became more and more gentle. As soon as Zhuan and the other two entered the square, they immediately attracted the attention of countless people in the square. These gazes were strange, suspicious, envious, and puzzled. In the face of so many gazes, Zhuan was calm and composed, without the slightest shyness or avoidance. However, Gu Xian and Hu Wuing behind Zhuowen's performance was somewhat unsatisfactory. The two of them were not as shameless as Zhuan, and their background was also not as good as Zhuowen's. Being stared at by so many people, their expressions were extremely unnatural. Leading Gu Xian and Hu Wuing, Zhuan strode directly to the stone tablet in the center of the square and casually found a relatively remote place. At the same time, Zhuan keenly noticed that several gazes had been fixed on him since he appeared in the square. Frowning slightly, Zhuan turned his neck slightly and suddenly found the owners of these gazes. One of them was Qing Lian of the Jade Lady Star Court team. As if sensing Zhuowen's gaze, Qing Lian smiled sweetly. Her white face was full of joy, as if she was happier that Zhuan could come to the second floor of the Yuan Qi Tower than that she could come in herself. Nodding slightly, Zhuowen also returned a smile. Qing Lian had helped him a lot. Zhuowen secretly remembered all of this in his heart. In his mind, he was thinking that he had to find an opportunity to repay Qing Lian's favor. The other two gazes were not very friendly, because the owners of these gazes were LV Yongxing and Lu Yuanhua. Since Zhuan entered the square, LV Yongxing and Lu Yuanhua's gazes were firmly fixed on Zhuan. In the depths of their gazes, there was a chill and killing intent. They did not expect that Zhuan could also advance to the second floor of the Yuan Qi Tower. It seems that the heavens are helping me. Since Zhuan has smoothly advanced, then we can solve this problem in the Yuan Qi Tower. LV Yongxing grinned. Chapter 430. Heaven and Earth Plate Brother Zhua, I trust you've been well since we last met. The fact that you were able to advance to the second floor has exceeded many people's expectations. A clear voice came from not far away. Turning his gaze slightly, a group of more than 10 people slowly walked toward Zhuan. The person in the lead was a young man in his 20s. He was dressed in a white robe and had a refined smile on his face. He looked extremely amiable. Beside the white-clothed young man was a red-clothed woman with a heroic aura. At this moment, the red-clothed woman was also smiling as she nodded toward Zhuan. Zhuan was no stranger to this group. It was the group from Broken Rock City. The white-clothed young man was Ouyang Hanxian, the son of Ouyang Yuntu. The red-clothed woman standing beside Ouyang Hanxian was Ouyang Ruoli. These two had fought side by side with Zhuowen and entered the 9 Extreme Emperor Origin pool together. Speaking of which, Ouyang Hanxian and Ouyang Ruoli's relationship with Zhuowen had always been good. However, Zhuowen had left Broken Rock City to prepare for the Origin Qi Tower battle and returned to Rot-Tan Armor City, so he rarely met the two of them. Brother Hanxian, big sister Ruoli, it's not like you don't know me. Advancing to the second floor of the Origin Qi Pagoda was within your expectations. Zhuowen walked up to them and shook his head with a smile. Indeed, with your talent and strength, we naturally believe that you have the strength to enter the second floor. But what I didn't expect was that even 9 Dragons City wasn't your match. It can be seen that your recent progress has exceeded my expectations. However, I can't see through your realm. Have you advanced to the Ultimate Emperor realm? Ouyang Hanxian shook his head and fixed his gaze on Zhuan. He knew that a genius like Zhuan would definitely advance at an explosive speed after entering the Origin Qi Tower. It should be normal for him to reach the first will Ultimate Emperor realm now. I just reached it by luck. Zhuan smiled faintly and said vaguely. Zhuan naturally wouldn't foolishly reveal that he had already reached the Ultimate Emperor realm. He had originally planned to hide a part of his strength. After all, Lu Yuanhua and LV Yongxing had always wanted to kill him, so he had to be on guard. Only by hiding a part of his strength and letting Lu Yuanhua and the others think that his strength was only SOSO could the former relax their vigilance and not completely target him. If Zhuan directly revealed that he had reached the Ultimate Emperor realm, it would definitely attract the attention of Lu Yuanhua and LV Yongxing. With the enmity between the two of them, They would definitely kill him in the Origin Chi Tower by hook or by crook. After all, Zhuowen's current progress was too fast. It was so fast that even Zhuowen himself felt that it was somewhat inconceivable. Currently, Lu Yuanhua and LV Yongxing were restricted by the rules of the Origin Chi Tower battle and didn't dare to openly make a move against Zhuowen. However, if they knew that Zhuowen had truly advanced, the former would very likely shed all pretense of cordiality and kill Zhuowen at all costs. Brother Zhuo is indeed a heavenly genius. Back then, your cultivation wasn't as good as mine, but now, you've already caught up to me. This kind of talent really makes Han Xian feel ashamed of his inferiority. Ouyang Han Xian was shocked when he heard this and smiled. Brother Han Xian, there's no need to flatter me too much. Brother Han Xian, you're the one who's advancing very quickly. If I'm not mistaken, you're already a cultivator at the peak of the first cycle of the Emperor Realm. You're only half a step away from the second cycle of the Emperor Realm. Zhuowen didn't want to harp on this topic and hurriedly changed the subject. Ouyang Hanxuan's eyes revealed a trace of pride when Zhuowen mentioned him. He had indeed obtained a lot of benefits on the first floor of the Origin Chi Tower. From the intermediate Ultimate Emperor Realm to the peak Ultimate Emperor Realm, his progress couldn't be said to be slow. Gu Xian and Hu Wuing respectfully followed behind Jun. They didn't find it strange that Jun knew Ouyang Hanxian and the others. After all, they had also heard of Zhuowen's deeds in Broken Rock City. Yun chatted with Ouyang Hanxian for a while, then his gaze landed on the huge stone tablet in the middle of the square. He asked curiously, Brother Hanxian, do you know what the second floor of the Origin Chi Tower is about? And what is this stone tablet in the middle of the square for? It seems like Brother Zhuo doesn't know anything about it? Alright, then I'll explain it to you in detail. Hearing Zhuowen's question, Ouyang Hanxian was rather surprised. Soon after, he smiled and said, this square is called the Training Square. Tens of thousands of miles away from this square, there is a towering mountain peak that reaches into the clouds called the Training Mountain. It is the main training ground of the second floor of the Origin Chi Tower. Of course, not just anyone can enter the Training Mountain. Everyone must obtain a world imprint to enter the Training Mountain. As for the method to obtain a world imprint, it depends on this world imprint. Ouyang Hanxian pointed at the huge stone tablet in the middle of the square with a smile on his face. World imprint? The corners of Zhuowen's mouth twitched as he looked at the majestic stone tablet in front of him. This world imprint is extremely mysterious. As long as you infuse the Yuan Qi in your body into it, it will analyze the structure and power in your body and determine what kind of strength you have. At that time, it will bestow you with a corresponding level of imprint. As he spoke, Ouyang Hanxian pointed at the surface of the worldly monolith with his right hand and continued, look carefully at the front of the worldly monolith. There are a total of 3 regions on this front. From top to bottom, they are the heaven, earth, and mortal regions. The heaven region is the highest, while the mortal region is the lowest. Normally, as long as one's strength reaches the ultimate emperor realm, one will be able to obtain the mortal imprint. One wheel ultimate emperor realm will be able to obtain the earth imprint. Zhuowen's eyes followed the direction that Ouyang Hanxian was pointing at. Indeed, Zhuowen saw the heaven, earth, and man regions on the surface of the heaven and earth monolith. These 3 regions were separated by purple gold lines. In each region, there was a giant word. The words were heaven, earth, and man. Then what's the difference between the heaven, earth, and human imprints? According to what you said, even if one obtains the heaven, earth, and human imprints, they can still enter the training mountain. Doesn't that mean the difference between the heaven, earth, and human imprints isn't that obvious? Zhuowen's eyes flickered as he pondered. Since it's divided into 3 areas, it's naturally not without reason. There must be a difference. Ouyang Hanxian revealed a mysterious smile. I'd like to hear the details. Zhuowen asked curiously. The second level of the tower's training is very different from the first level. The first level is to seize the Ascension Island and break through the void to enter the second level. In fact, this method is much more relaxed. However, the second level is different. All of the training on the second level is within the training mountain, and it's also a knockout competition. The training mountain is extremely large, and the passages inside extend in all directions. This time, all of the contestants from our 1,000 teams will enter the training mountain and fight one-on-one. The winner will be able to enter the next passage. This process will repeat until you reach the depths of the training mountain. Only the winner will be able to enter the deepest part of the training mountain. It's said that there are many treasures in the depths of the training mountain. There are spirit treasures, elixirs, secret skills, and armor skills. The wealth of treasures inside is far beyond our imagination. For example, some rare Earth rank spirit treasures, Emperor rank armor skills, 6th grade elixirs, and other rare treasures can be found in the training mountain. Of course, rich rewards are often accompanied by extremely high risks. The Heaven and Earth imprint is the difficulty of the training mountain for the contestants. In other words, the higher the level of the imprint you obtain, the higher the level of the treasures you can obtain after passing the training mountain. At this point, Ouyang Hanxian let out a light sigh. His eyes revealed a trace of passion as he looked at the Heaven and Earth imprint. Obviously, he was extremely eager for the Heaven and Earth imprint inside. Hearing this, Zhuan finally understood the purpose of the Heaven and Earth imprint. In layman's terms, the Heaven and Earth imprint provided the contestants with a ticket to enter the training mountain. Of course, this ticket was also divided into high and low grades. If one wanted to obtain a high-grade ticket, they had to show enough strength. And the higher the grade of the ticket, the greater the benefits within the training mountain. Brother Hanxian, do you think that an Earth rank imprint holder can defeat a Heaven rank imprint holder? If the former defeats the latter, would the Heaven rank imprint just disappear? Zhuan muttered to himself for a moment before finally asking this question. After listening to Ouyang Hanxuan's introduction, Zhuan longed for the many benefits within the training mountain. In theory, it's very difficult for an Earth rank imprint holder to defeat a Heaven rank imprint holder, but there are exceptions to everything. If the former defeats the latter, then the Heaven rank imprint won't disappear. Instead, it will be swallowed by the former and become the former's possession. Moreover, the imprints can stack and strengthen each other. Every time you defeat an imprint holder of the same rank, the imprint in your hand will become more powerful. When you gather 100 Earth rank imprints, then the imprint in your hand will transform into a Heaven rank imprint. Ouyang Hanxian patiently explained to Zhuan. However, he seemed to have thought of something and looked at Zhuan in astonishment. Brother Zhua, it seems that you're planning to gather Earth rank imprints? That's very difficult. It's better to hurry through the training mountain's checkpoint and obtain the benefits that belong to you. After all, the remaining 1,000 teams aren't easy to provoke. I'm just asking. I also know that it's very difficult. Seeing Ouyang Hanxuan's serious expression, Yuan laughed involuntarily. There are too many monsters in this year's Origin Chi Tower battle. Even if I advance to the 3rd floor, it'll be somewhat difficult. Ouyang Hanxian shook his head. Brother Hanxian, since Earth rank imprints can be stacked, then can Heaven rank imprints be stacked? Zhuan seemed to have thought of something and suddenly asked. Chapter 431. The Shocked Guyutian Whoosh. Just as Zhuan and Ouyang Hanxian were chatting happily, a golden circle suddenly appeared in the sky above the plaza. The golden circle continuously rotated and slowly landed on an empty space in the plaza. As the golden light receded, a densely packed crowd appeared on the empty ground. There were nearly 1,000 people in this crowd, and at the front of this crowd were 5 extraordinary figures. These 1,000 people looked at these 5 figures with reverence and respect in their eyes. Marquis Lu and the others have arrived. My father and the city lord of Rattan Armor City should also be in this crowd. It seems that the city lord of Rattan Armor City is with my father and Senior Chiu. Ouyang Hanxian, who was originally chatting cheerfully beside Zhuan, noticed the sudden appearance of a group of people not far away. His eyes immediately lit up and a gentle smile appeared on his face. Zhuan, Gu Xian, and Hu Wuing also noticed Ouyang Yuntu, Chiu Chou, and Gu Yutian, who were chatting cheerfully in an inconspicuous corner of the crowd. Father! City Lord Gu! Gu Xian and Hu Wuing shouted in surprise when they saw Gu Yutian's unnatural expression in the distance. Then, the The two of them nodded to Zhuowen and directly rushed toward Gu Yutian. Brother Zhuo, let's go as well. Ouyang Yuntu spread out his hands in a rather graceful manner. Let's go together. Nodding, Toan, Ouyang Yuntu, and the others also walked toward the empty space. Aside from Zhuowen, Ouyang Yuntu, and the other groups in the plaza also rushed toward the crowd with surprised expressions. They all saw their own city lords. Gu Yutian, who originally had a reserved expression, also saw Gu Xian and Hu Wuing in front of him. The reserved expression on his face faded quite a bit. He smiled and said, Gu Xian and Hu Wuing. Now that he saw Gu Xian and Hu Wuing, Gu Yutian's anxious heart finally relaxed. After all, the life and death of the contestants in the Tower of Vitality were predestined. Although he knew that Rotan Armor City had successfully advanced to the second level of the Tower of Vitality, it didn't mean that everyone in Rotan Armor City was safe and sound. Even if Gu Xian and Hu Wuing both died, leaving only Zhuowen to seize control of Ascension Island, Rotan Armor City could still be considered to have successfully advanced. He wasn't worried about Zhuowen. After all, Zhuowen was very strong, and Gu Xian and Hu Wuing were too weak. Gu Yutian was afraid that Gu Xian and Hu Wuing would die in the first level of the Tower of Vitality. If that happened, it would be a huge blow to him. I didn't expect that the two of you would be fine, ha. Gu Yutian said excitedly as he held Gu Xian's shoulders with both hands. However, he soon discovered that Gu Xian's aura gave him an unfathomable feeling. He couldn't see through Gu Xian's cultivation at all. Xian, you broke through. You've reached the Heavenly King realm? Gu Yutian was pleasantly surprised. He knew that if he couldn't see through Gu Xian's cultivation, it meant that Gu Xian's cultivation had surpassed his. Lord Gu, your son isn't just a Heavenly King realm cultivator. He's a genuine half-step Ultimate Emperor realm cultivator. Ouyang Yuntu suddenly smiled as he stood behind Gu Yutian. What? Half-step Ultimate Emperor realm? Exa, you were only at the peak of the Earth King realm before you entered the Tower of Vitality. It's only been a little over a month, and you've already reached the half-step Ultimate Emperor realm? Isn't this a little too fast? Gu Yutian suddenly stuttered as he stared at Gu Xian in disbelief. Lord Father, I have indeed reached the half-step Ultimate Emperor realm. Lord Ouyang didn't lie to you. Moreover, Wuing has already reached the half-step Ultimate Emperor realm. Gu Xian nodded and said seriously, What? Hu Wuing has also reached the half-step Ultimate Emperor realm? A little over a month ago, his cultivation was lower than yours. He was only at the peak of the Earth King realm. But now, he's also at the half-step Ultimate Emperor realm? Gu Yutian hadn't even finished digesting the news that Gu Xian had reached the half-step Ultimate Emperor realm when he received an even more shocking piece of news. His right hand trembling, Gu Yutian stared at Hu Wuing, who was standing beside Gu Xian. As expected, Hu Wuing's aura was extremely vast. It was no different from Gu Xian's. Could. The excitement on Gu Yutian's face was at its peak after he said the word goods 3 times in a row. He looked at Gu Xian and Hu Wuing with a burning gaze. Looks like there's hope for the rise of Vine Armor City. With the two of you and Zhuowen, Vine Armor City will have 3 ultimate half-step emperors? Ha! Gu Yutian's face was filled with gratification. He knew better than anyone what 3 half-step Ultimate Emperor realm cultivators meant. Rotan Armor City was already comparable to a high-ranking city. In fact, it might even surpass an ordinary high-ranking city. However, Gu Xian shook his head and smiled bitterly. Lord Father, the two of us can't compare to Zhuowen. Zhuowen has already broken through to the Ultimate Emperor realm after entering the Origin Chi Tower. His strength has already undergone an earth-shattering change. Gu Yutian, who had been laughing heartily, widened his eyes when he heard Gu Xian's words. The smile on his face froze and his lips trembled. He picked at his ears and said shakily, Exa, what did you say? Say it again. Say it again. Brother Zhuo is extremely talented. After entering the first level of the Origin Chi Tower, he successfully passed through the heavenly tribulation and reached the Ultimate Emperor realm. Now, Brother Zhuo's strength is comparable to some of the other monstrous geniuses. Furthermore, The reason why the two of us have improved so quickly is all because of Brother Zhuo's help. Gu Xian smiled as she repeated herself. Gu Xian's words were ambiguous. He didn't directly say that Zhuan had already reached the ultimate emperor realm. This was because before coming to the training field, Yuan had already warned the two of them not to reveal his true strength, even if this person was the city lord of Rattan Armor City. Although they were rather confused by Zhuowen's request, Gu Xian and Hu Wuing naturally agreed because they trusted Zhuan. Zhuan has actually broken through. He's reached the ultimate emperor realm? Doesn't that mean that our Rattan Armor City now has a truly powerful ultimate emperor realm expert? Gu Tian was so excited that he was speaking incoherently. Although he had guessed that Zhuan would very likely reach the ultimate emperor realm in the Origin Chi Tower, he also knew how terrifying the heavenly tribulation was. The difficulty of reaching the ultimate emperor realm from the half-step ultimate emperor realm was as difficult as ascending to the heavens for ordinary cultivators. Therefore, he didn't dare to think about it, even if Zhuowen's talent was truly monstrous. However, now that Gu Xian's words had confirmed his guess, the surging excitement in his heart finally reached its peak. At this moment, he was almost speaking incoherently. Even Ouyang Yuntu and Qiu Chou, who were standing behind Gu Tian, revealed a trace of shock when they heard this news. After all, Zhuowen and the others had only been in the Origin Chi Tower for a little over a month. To reach the ultimate emperor realm in such a short period of time, this speed was truly too fast. Seeing Gu Tian, Ouyang Yuntu, and Qiu Chou's expressions of shock, Gu Xian and Hu Wuing couldn't help but reveal a trace of pride. They muttered to themselves, if they told them that Zhuan had already reached the second wheel of the ultimate emperor realm, what would Gu Tian and the others' expressions be like? Lord Gu, congratulations, it is truly a blessing for your Rattan Armor City to have a monstrous genius like young friend Zhuan. Ouyang Yuntu and Qiu Chou both laughed heartily as they congratulated him. The two of you are right, it is truly a blessing for our Rattan Armor City to have Zhuan. Although he knew that Ouyang Yuntu and Qiu Chou were only so polite to him because of Zhuan, he didn't dare to slight them in the slightest. After all, the two people in front of him had a much higher status than him. City Lord Ouyang, and Senior Qiu, long time no see. At this moment, Yuan had already arrived in front of Gu Tian and the others with Ouyang Hanxian. He had a warm smile on his face. Gu Tian, Qiu Chou, and Ouyang Yuntu's eyes all lit up when they saw Zhuan arrive. They couldn't help but reveal smiles on their faces. This was especially true for Qiu Chou and Ouyang Yuntu. After sensing the surging aura on Zhuowen's body, they couldn't help but nod their heads. Gu Xian hadn't lied. Zhuan had indeed reached the ultimate emperor realm. His aura, which allowed him to manipulate the power of heaven and earth at any time, couldn't be faked. Moreover, Qiu Chou's sharp senses also discovered that the aura within Zhuowen's body was very strange. It was actually a bit stronger than an ordinary ultimate emperor realm cultivator. This made Qiu Chou frown slightly. He was quite puzzled. Although Zhuan had done his best to conceal the aura of an ultimate emperor realm cultivator, Qiu Chou was still a peak ultimate emperor realm cultivator. He could still detect some abnormalities from Zhuowen's aura. However, Qiu Chou didn't take it to heart. He wouldn't ask Zhuan about it for no reason. After all, everyone had their own secrets. Gu Tian, really have to thank you this time. If it weren't for you, our Rattan Armor City wouldn't have had the chance to enter the second level of the tower. And I, Gu Tian, am just a nobody. I wouldn't have had the chance to stand shoulder to shoulder with so many experts. And if it weren't for you, Gu Xian and Hu Wuing wouldn't have been able to reach the half-step ultimate emperor realms so quickly. Gu Tian, really have to thank you. With that, Gu Tian bowed toward Zhuan. Zhuan had done far too much for Rattan Armor City, but they hadn't helped Zhuan at all. This made Gu Tian feel extremely guilty. Zhuan smiled faintly. With a wave of his right hand, a surge of origin energy lifted Gu Tian up. Why are you treating me like an outsider, Lord Gu? Rattan Armor City isn't just yours. It's also mine, Zhuan's. It's where I was born and raised. It's my hometown. If a person doesn't even care about their hometown, do you think they're still human? With that, Ouyang Yuntu and Chiu Cho looked at each other and nodded with praise. Although the youth before them didn't have broad shoulders or a sturdy body, he used his not-so-broad but extremely straight spine to prop up a lowly city like Rat-Tan Armor City. He even raised it to the same height as many high-ranking cities. Chapter 432. Top Geniuses of the Younger Generation. After the hubbub, the training square suddenly became much quieter. At this time, the 1,000 teams had found their respective city lords and were neatly lined up in the center of the square. They looked at the 5 extraordinary figures in front of the square with reverence. These 5 figures were naturally the leaders of the 5 superpowers of the prefecture: Lu Nantian of the House of Marquis Qin, Master of the Meteorite of the Jade Lady Star Court, Su Cheng of the Marquis of Baichuan, Qin Ye of the Marquis of Yongxing, and Shenyuan Li of the Imperial Sword Sect. Among them, the teams of the 5 superpowers were lined up in front of the square, enjoying the admiration of the other teams in the square. However, this was also something they deserved. After all, the 5 superpowers had more geniuses than the other forces in Muqing County, and they were also much stronger. They represented the top battle strength of the younger generation in Muqing County. No one in the square thought that there was anything wrong with the 5 teams standing at the front of the line. On the contrary, most of the geniuses in the square looked at the 5 teams with fear and reverence in their eyes. Lu Nantian stepped out from under the huge firmament monolith. His sharp eyes swept across the teams in the square, and he said loudly, "Congratulations to all of you for passing the first level of the Vitality Tower. There are hundreds of thousands of teams participating in this year's Vitality Tower battle. The fact that all of you can stand out from these tens of thousands of teams is enough to prove that all of you are 1 in 100 geniuses in Muqing County." At this point, the nearly 10,000 cultivators in the square showed a pleased expression. If these words came from other people's mouths, they naturally wouldn't feel anything. However, who was Lu Nantian? He was the #1 expert in Muqing County. Hearing such words of praise from such a peerless expert naturally made the nearly 10,000 geniuses in the square feel very pleased. However, this is only the first level of the Vitality Tower. You all know that there are 4 levels in the Vitality Tower, and each level is more difficult than the last. This is the training square, and in the depths of the square is the core of the second level of the Vitality Tower, the Mountain of Trials. The Mountain of Trials is the test of the second level of the Vitality Tower. As he spoke, Lu Nantian's right hand pointed at the towering mountain behind him. His expression was extremely calm and solemn from beginning to end. Everyone in the plaza looked in the direction that Lu Nantian was pointing at and naturally saw the vast and majestic training mountain. Many of them had pensive looks in their eyes, and some even had excited expressions. It was obvious that many of them had some understanding of the training mountain. I'm sure everyone is familiar with this training mountain, right? Spirit treasures, spirit herbs, secret skills, armor skills, and various other treasures. The training mountain doesn't lack anything. Even the extremely rare Earth rank spirit treasures, royal rank armor skills, ultimate secret skills, and grade 6 spirit herbs are all here. As long as you're strong enough and brave enough, you'll be able to obtain more. A commotion immediately broke out in the open ground when they heard these words. A noisy uproar also sounded one after another. Actually, only the geniuses from the super factions knew the details regarding the trial mountain. However, there were very few high-grade cities, middle-grade cities, and low-grade cities who knew about it. Therefore, when they heard Lu Nantian mention that royal rank armor skills, earth rank spirit treasures, and other peerless treasures that couldn't be bought in Muqing County could appear in the training mountain, it naturally caused many of the geniuses' breathing to quicken as their gazes blazed. This training mountain actually has so many treasures, it's really a treasure trove. You'll need to be alive to obtain the treasures. Didn't you hear Marquis Lu say that the dangers inside are even more terrifying than the first level? High rewards are always accompanied by high risks. If you're afraid of everything, how can you progress in the martial Dao? A satisfied smile appeared on Lu Nantian's face as he gazed at the bustling plaza. After gesturing for silence, he continued, "Opportunities are accompanied by risks. Moreover, The training mountain isn't a place that just anyone can enter. If you want to enter, you'll need to obtain a world imprint. With that, Lu Nantian pointed at the huge world imprint behind him and said, "This is the world imprint. It contains countless world imprints. All you need to do is channel your energy into the world imprint as much as you can, and the world imprint will automatically analyze your strength and give you a corresponding imprint." The world imprint is split into 3 ranks. From high to low, they are the heaven imprint, earth imprint, and human imprint. If you want to obtain a world imprint, you'll need to be at least a half-step ultimate emperor. Moreover, the higher the rank of the world imprint, the greater the benefits you'll obtain after entering the training mountain. With that, Lu Nantian scanned the plaza solemnly and said, "The world imprint is actually a pass to enter the training mountain. If no one has any objections, we'll begin the test on the world imprint in order." With that, Lu Nantian focused his gaze on the 5 young figures at the very front of the group. These 5 figures represented the top prodigies of the younger generation in the Muqin province. Lu Yitao, Luo Xing, Su Tianliang, Qin Badian, Zhu Qi, and LV Yongxing. The 6 of you are geniuses on the Qin Xian Empire's most authoritative ranking, the Qin Xian rankings. At the same time, you're the top prodigies of the younger generation in the Muqin province. The test on the world imprint will begin with you. As soon as Lu Nantian finished speaking, 6 figures slowly walked out of the 5 groups at the very front of the plaza. They were Lu Yitao, Luo Xing, Su Tianliang, Qin Badian, Zhu Qi, and LV Yongxing. The 6 of them bowed respectfully to LV Nantan, then slowly walked to the front of the huge worldly monolith. These 6 people are the top prodigies of the younger generation in the Muqin province. It's said that Lu Yitao has already reached the ultimate emperor stage. He's even ranked 15th on the Qin Xian rankings. How amazing! Luo Xing from the Jade Lady Star Court is also a prodigy. He's the youngest of the 6, but his cultivation is second only to Lu Yitao. It's said that he's preparing to reach the ultimate emperor stage. If he succeeds, he won't be much weaker than Lu Yitao. Zhu Qi is also very powerful. He's already mastered the imperial armor technique of the imperial sword sect, the imperial sword technique. He's ranked higher than Su Tianliang, Qin Badian, and LV Yongxing on the Qin Xian rankings. He's also a rare prodigy. In fact, in terms of background, the House of Marquis Qin is still a well-deserved overlord. It's really terrifying to be able to cultivate Lu Yitao and LV Yongxing, 2 prodigies on the Qin Xian rankings. As the 6 of them stepped out, countless people in the square focused their attention on the 6 figures who were walking slowly toward the world imprint. They wanted to see what heights the 6 prodigies, who represented the top prodigies of the younger generation in the Muqin County, could reach under the test of the world imprint. Zhuan, who was standing in an inconspicuous corner of the square, was also staring at the 6 figures not far away. His dark eyes were filled with anticipation. He could clearly feel that the aura and strength of the 6 people were above his. If he were to fight any one of them with his current strength, he would be defeated. The world imprint is 100 feet tall. That Lu Yitao is unfathomable. It's inevitable that he'll obtain the heavenly imprint. He might even reach the limit of the world imprint. Qiu Chou looked solemnly at the calm young man among the 6 figures. Even Qiu Chou admired Lu Yitao's talent for being able to reach the ultimate emperor stage at the age of 23. That's right. Marquis Lu really has a good son. He's the #1 prodigy of the younger generation in the Muqin County and ranked 15th on the Qin Xian Empire's Qin Xian rankings. This kind of achievement isn't something an ordinary person can achieve, Ouyang Yunta said with some emotion. Ouyang Hanxian and Ouyang Ruoli, who were beside Ouyang Yuntu, were staring at the 6 figures below the world imprint. As prodigies of a super city like Broken Rock City, the 2 of them rarely admired others. However, the 2 of them admired the 6 people in front of them from the bottom of their hearts. The Qin Xian rankings was the most prestigious and authoritative list in the Qin Xian Empire. Those who could enter the Qin Xian rankings were basically 1 in a million prodigies. To the 2 of them, entering the Qin Xian rankings was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Below the world imprint, Lu Nantian smiled at the 6 people in front of him and asked, "Which one of you will go first?" "I'll go first. However, let me make it clear first. Brother Itao must be the last one. If he goes first, our limelight will be overshadowed by him. That would be completely pointless." Qin Batian suddenly stepped forward and laughed heartily. The indifferent LV Tao lifted his eyebrows when he heard this. However, he helplessly shook his head and said, "Brother Qin's words are a little inappropriate. It should be known that in terms of talent, the strongest amongst us should be younger sister Luo Xing." As he spoke, Lu Yitao looked at the otherworldly Luo Xing with a strange expression. There was a hint of passion in his eyes as he continued, "Little sister Luo Xing is only 19 years old, but she already has the qualifications to break through to the ultimate emperor stage. Even Yitao admires her speed of advancement. If little sister Luo Xing cultivated at the same time as Yitao, her cultivation would have surpassed mine long ago." After Lu Yitao finished speaking, the others nodded. Luo Xing's rise was extremely fast. Before the age of 15, Luo Xing was only an ordinary female disciple in the Jade Lady Star Court. However, since 4 years ago, Luo Xing's cultivation speed had increased by leaps and bounds. She had surpassed all the prodigies in the sect and become the strongest among the younger generation in the Jade Lady Star Court. It was precisely this kind of legendary rumor that caused Luo Xing to appear as though she was covered in a layer of gauze. She appeared mysterious and distant. Coupled with the otherworldly aura on her body from the beginning to the end, it caused countless men to admire her. "Brother Lu, you're overestimating Luo Xing. Everyone knows how difficult it is to break through from the ultimate emperor stage from the 4th emperor stage to the 5th emperor stage. Many people have been stuck at this stage for decades without being able to break through. Who knows how long it will take for Luo Xing to break through?" Luo Xing bowed slightly and replied indifferently, "You don't have to be modest. Let's begin the test. Qin Batian, what are you standing there for? Hurry up and take the test. Don't embarrass yourself here." Chapter 433. Unstoppable. Qin Batian's neck shrunk as he mumbled a few words. He hurried to the front of the heaven and earth monolith. Although Qin Batian looked domineering, he was most afraid of his sissy father. Taking a deep breath, Qin Batian's broad right palm gently pressed against the surface of the monolith. He secretly channeled the heaven and earth energy in his body into the monolith. The golden light was like a blazing sun, spreading out in all directions. Soon after, the crowd in the plaza realized that the originally empty surface of the heaven and earth monolith was starting to emit a dazzling golden light. The golden light was like countless tadpoles, condensing into the words Qin Batian at the bottom of the stone tablet. As soon as the words were formed, they shot up the stone tablet like a rocket, breaking through the human class area like a hot knife through butter, forcefully entering the earth class area. The 3 regions of the heaven and earth monolith added up to a height of 100 zhang. The mortal class region took up the bottom 20 zhang, the earth class region took up the middle 30 zhang, and the heaven class region took up the largest area, a full 50 zhang. It was at the top of the monolith and was extremely dazzling. After entering the earth class region, the speed of the golden light did not decrease at all. It continued to rise steadily, breaking through the 30 zhang range of the earth class region and entering the heaven class region. This Qin Batian is indeed the #1 genius of the eternal prosperity marquee manner. He entered the heaven class region without any difficulty. I wonder how high he will stop at? At least above 80 zhang. After all, Qin Batian is also a monstrous genius on the Green Emperor rankings. Above 80 zhang, what a monster. The limit of the heaven and earth monolith is only 100 zhang. To be able to reach above 80 zhang is already extremely monstrous. A commotion broke out in the square when they saw the golden light on the heaven and earth plate with unstoppable force. Finally, the golden radiance on the worldly monolith stopped at 850 feet. At 850 feet, the words Qin Batian condensed. Behind Qin Batian were the words Eternal Prosperity Marquee Manor, representing the power that Qin Batian belonged to. It's actually 85 zhang. This Qin Batian is indeed a genius on the Green Emperor rankings. The golden light in his body can actually reach 85 zhang. How terrifying. Yeah. The heaven and earth plate is only 300 meters tall, and one only needs to enter 150 meters to obtain the heaven-ranked imprint. But this Qin Baishan's strength is truly unfathomable, to actually surpass it by so much. Sigh. Each and every one of them is a monster. Looks like I'm in a bit of a predicament. I wonder if I can break through 60 meters and obtain the earth rank imprint. When the three words Qin Badian condensed on the 85 feet tall worldly monolith, an uproar broke out in the plaza. Many people's eyes were filled with respect and admiration. At the same time, a dazzling golden light shot out from the worldly monolith and entered Qin Baishan's right palm. A golden heaven character appeared on his palm. Clearly, this was the so-called heaven imprint. Not bad. To be able to reach a height of 85 feet is still somewhat out of my expectations. Qin Badian laughed heartily as he took a few steps back from the heaven and earth plate. Good my ass. It's only 85 feet and you still dare to show off. Qin Badian, I think you're itching for a beating. Look at LV Tao, his bearing is so steady, while you're so sloppy. You're really a wastrel. Standing behind LV Nantian, Qin Ye once again spoke, his sharp voice exceptionally ear-piercing. Qin Baishan's neck shrunk as the smile on his face instantly disappeared. He dejectedly retreated back to the group. Brother Qin, this child Baishan's talent is already pretty good. Furthermore, to be able to reach a height of 85 feet is already very impressive. You're being too harsh on him. LV Nantian shook his head and laughed as he looked at Qin Badian, who didn't even dare to breathe loudly as he returned to the group. Brother LV, don't be fooled by this kid's honest appearance. In fact, he's full of evil tricks. Furthermore, although our family's Baishan's strength isn't bad, compared to the others, he's just barely passable. If we aren't strict with him, I'm afraid he'll be eliminated in the end. Qin Ye shrugged as he spoke. Hearing this, LV Nantian didn't reply. His gaze shifted slightly as it converged on the remaining 5 as he asked, which of the 5 of you wants to go first? I'll go first. LV Yongxing was the first to step forward. He still had some self-awareness. Although he was also a genius on the Azure Emperor board, his ranking was at the bottom. Therefore, he could only brace himself and go first. Since Xing'er has volunteered, you can go first. LV Nantian nodded his head in praise. Second brother, use your full strength. Don't hold back at all. LV Yongxing secretly transmitted to LV Tao as he walked past him. Nodding his head, LV Yongxing directly walked to the front of the heaven and earth monolith and placed his right hand on the bottom surface of the monolith. Instantly, a golden light shot out from the monolith. However, LV Yongxing's golden light was much dimmer than Qin Baishan's. The golden light broke through the human and earth class areas like a hot knife through butter and entered the heaven class area in one go. Finally, it stopped at the 80 zhang mark and the golden light transformed into LV Yongxing's name. Looking at the result on the monolith, LV Yongxing frowned slightly. Clearly, he wasn't very satisfied with this result. However, he also knew that there was a gap between his strength and Qin Baishan's and that it was almost impossible for him to surpass Qin Badian in this test. It seems that Xing'er's strength has increased by quite a bit from the first level of the Yuan Qi Tower. Looking at the result on the monolith, LV Nantian nodded his head in satisfaction. Originally, he thought that LV Yongxing would be able to reach the standard of 75 zhang. However, this result had greatly exceeded his expectations. After LV Yongxing went down, Zhu Qi from the Imperial Sword Sect and Su Tianliang from the Marquis residence of Baichuan also went up to take the test. Su Tianliang's result was slightly worse than Qin Baishan's, but his golden light also reached 83 zhang. However, Zhu Qi's result was a little unexpected. He actually surpassed Su Tianliang and Qin Badian, reaching 90 zhang. He was only 10 zhang away from the limit of 100 zhang. Such a result naturally attracted the attention of the 5 magnates beside the heaven and earth monolith. Even the countless cultivators in the square burst into an uproar because of Zhu Qi's unexpected result. This Zhu Qi is so strong. In the square, Yuan stared at the man with a sword who had just finished his test and was slowly returning to the group. His face was slightly moved. As his name suggested, Zhu Qi liked red. Even the clothes he wore and the long sword he carried on his back were all red. From afar, he looked like a burning flame. However, the only flaw was that Zhu Qi looked cold and indifferent. He had an unapproachable expression on his face. Brother Xianyuan, congratulations. This Zhu Qi is a good seedling for swordsmanship. I can actually feel a sharp sword-like aura from this kid. LV Nanshan's eyes flickered as he cupped his hands and smiled at Xianyuan Li. Xianyuan Li was grinning from ear to ear. However, he still said humbly, Zhu Qi has been cultivating in seclusion for the past few years. It is only natural for him to have such a result today. Brother LV, you are flattering me. Although Xianyuan Li was speaking humbly, his smile was not humble at all. In fact, there was even a hint of pride. This made LV Nantian and the others speechless. Now, only Luo Xing from the Jade Lady Star Court and Tao, or from the House of Marquis Qin, are left. I wonder what their results will be? As he spoke, LV Nanshan's eyes focused on the remaining two people in the square. His eyes were filled with anticipation. His eldest son had never made him worry. He wanted to see what his eldest son would be able to leave behind on the monolith after 2 years of seclusion. The other 4 magnates also looked at the remaining 2 people. They all knew that the 2 people in front of them were the strongest among the younger generation in Muqing County. They also wanted to see what their final results would be. Young Master LV, Luo Xing will accept your invitation. Luo Xing nodded slightly to LV Tao, who was standing beside her. Then she walked up to the heaven and earth monolith. As soon as Luo Xing appeared, many warriors in the square were shocked. They all looked at Luo Xing. Luo Xing was the most beautiful woman in the county. She was also the second strongest among the younger generation in Muqing County. She was beautiful and had a high cultivation level. Naturally, she attracted the attention of countless people. It's Luo Xing's turn now. I wonder if she will surpass Zhu Qi in the end. Nonsense. Lady Luo Xing is a genius second only to Lve Tao in Muqing County. She will definitely surpass Zhu Qi. Sigh. Lady Luo Xing is so beautiful. I wonder who can be a match for such a beautiful woman. I'm afraid only Lve Tao from the House of Marquis Qin is a match for her. After all, Lve Tao's talent and strength are unique in Muqing County. Moreover, both of them have super forces behind them. It can be said that they are well matched in terms of social status. Even Lve Tao, who was standing under the heaven and earth monolith, had a fiery look in his eyes. He stared at Luo Xing's figure. Luo Xing tilted her head slightly. She did not place her hand on the monolith in a hurry. Instead, she carefully observed the monolith. Then, she stretched out her snow-white arms and gently pressed them on the bottom of the monolith. A golden light that was even more dazzling than before surged out from the heaven and earth monolith. The intensity of this golden light was like the scorching sun rising from the east. Many people squinted their eyes. The golden light swept upward like a hot knife through butter. It passed through the human division and the earth division. Moreover, it did not slow down and continued to rise rapidly in the heaven division. 50 feet, 60 feet, 70 feet, 80 feet, 90 feet. Finally, the golden light reached 90 feet. Its speed gradually slowed down. 91 feet, 92 feet, 95 feet. Chapter 434. Lve Tao's strength, oh my god. She's 950 feet tall. That's insane. Yeah. She's 50 feet taller than Zhu Qi, the #1 genius of the Imperial Sword faction. This result is really shocking. No wonder she's second only to Lve Tao. Luo Xing's result is really amazing. There was an uproar in the square. Even the 5 magnates were shocked. Luo Xing's result was beyond their expectations. Zhu Qi looked at Luo Xing, who was a head taller than him. His face darkened and he muttered, I didn't expect the gap between me and Luo Xing to widen in the past 2 years. After seeing Luo Xing's result, a rare gentle smile appeared on the meteorite master's face. Obviously, she was very satisfied with Luo Xing's result. It's true that there are new talents in every generation. Sister Luo Xing, your disciple's talent is even better than yours. Lu Nantian couldn't help but exclaim. Luo Xing is the most talented disciple I've ever taught. Her talent is indeed better than mine. However, she's still not as good as LV Tao from the house of Marquis Qin, the master of the meteorite said with a smile. You're too modest. Although Yi Tao is the most powerful, the realm of Marquis Qin is the most powerful. However, the realm of Marquis Qin is not only a test of strength, but also a comprehensive evaluation of one's potential. In terms of talent and potential, Luo Xing from the Jade Lady Astral Court deserves to be number 1 in Muqing County, Lu Nantian said, shaking his head. We'll have to wait for LV Tao from the house of Marquis Qin to know the result, the master of the meteorite said, shaking her head. That's true. Lu Nantian nodded and looked at the last person, LV Tao. He said, Tao, come over here and take the test. Hearing this, LV Tao smiled and nodded. He slowly walked in front of the heaven and earth plate and placed his right hand on it. At this moment, LV Tao's every action naturally attracted the attention of many people. Many people were looking forward to the final result of the test. What would the number 1 practitioner of the younger generation in Muqing County be like? Could he surpass Luo Xing's record? A soft sound was emitted from the heaven and earth tablet. Immediately, an extremely dazzling golden light suddenly erupted from the bottom of the tablet. It was like the scorching sun at noon, illuminating everyone until they narrowed their eyes. Furthermore, everyone was shocked to discover that this blazing golden light was actually mixed with a strange purple color. This golden light was actually purple gold in color. In the blink of an eye, the purplish gold light shot from the bottom of the heaven and earth monolith to the top of the monolith at a rapid speed. It was so fast that it was dazzling. It's actually purplish gold in color. The energy that LV Tao left on the heaven and earth monolith is actually purplish gold in color. Why is this color so strange? Purplish gold is the king of all metals. It is a color that is of a higher grade than gold. I'm afraid this means that the energy in LV Tao's body has definitely surpassed gold. It's really terrifying to be able to emit purplish gold light. It seems like LV Tao's ranking will definitely surpass Luo Xing's. Just as the square was filled with discussions, the purplish gold light on the huge monolith shot up like a hot knife through butter. It instantly surpassed LV Yongxing, Qin Batian and Su Tianyang. Its speed showed no signs of slowing down. LV Yongxing's expression was calm when he saw that he had been surpassed in an instant. However, the corners of Su Tianyang and Qin Batian's eyes twitched violently. LV Tao's strength was probably above their expectations. He had actually surpassed their record so easily. Without any hindrance, the purplish gold light shot up to 90 feet. It was almost on par with Zhu Qi's result. Zhu Qi, who was standing in front of the Imperial Sword Sex team, looked a little nervous. He was hoping that the purplish gold light would stop at 90 feet. However, his hopes were dashed. The purplish gold light did not stop. It directly passed Zhu Qi and continued to climb. After 90 feet, the purplish gold light began to slow down. 91 feet, 92 feet, 93 feet, at 95 feet, the purplish gold light was on par with Luo Xing's result. It was unknown whether it was intentional or not, but the purplish gold light actually stopped at 95 feet for nearly a breath's time. It stopped? Is LV Tao's result only 95 feet? It can't be. After all, LV Tao is the strongest of the younger generation. His strength is much stronger than Luo Xing's. His result should not be so low. Let's continue to watch. The purplish gold light did not show a corresponding name. It should be more than 95 feet. At this time, Luo Xing, who was in the Jade Lady Star Court's team, frowned. Based on her understanding of LV Tao, she knew that LV Tao's strength was not limited to this. Thinking of this, Luo Xing's beautiful eyes could not help but converge on the tall white figure at the bottom of the monolith. Coincidentally, LV Tao had turned his head and was looking at Luo Xing with a gentle gaze. Do you want to lose? If you do that, you will only make me look down on you. Luo Xing's jade-like neck shook slightly as she transmitted her voice coldly. Hearing Luo Xing's transmission, the smile on LV Tao's face suddenly disappeared. His eyes were gloomy. He turned his head and stared at the monolith in front of him again. He muttered to himself, "In that case, I will show you my true ability. Luo Xing in Muqing County, no one is worthy of you except me." As he spoke, the power of heaven and earth in LV Tao's body surged out again. The purplish gold light on the monolith became more vigorous. It immediately exceeded 95 feet and entered 96 feet. It showed no signs of stopping. 97 feet, 98 feet, 99 feet. At this time, when the purplish gold light stopped at 99 feet, it began to tremble violently, as if it was running out of strength. It seems that Tao Er's result is 99 feet. Lu Nantian shook his head and muttered to himself in disappointment. In fact, with LV Tao's strength and talent, he still hoped that LV Tao could reach 100 feet and break the limit of the heaven and earth monolith. But now, it seemed that it was unlikely. 99 feet. LV Tao is indeed the #1 person among the younger generation. He is actually 40 feet taller than Luo Xing. He is only 10 feet away from the limit of the heaven and earth monolith. Yes. Looking at the way the purplish gold light is constantly trembling, the limit should be 99 feet. This result is already very heaven-defying. The heaven and earth monolith is only 100 feet tall. Below the heaven and earth monolith, LV Tao frowned slightly. When the purplish gold light reached 99 feet, he actually felt an extremely terrifying resistance. No matter how he activated the power of heaven and earth in his dantian, he was unable to make the purplish gold light reach 100 feet. You want to stop me with a mere heaven and earth monolith? With a cold snort, LV Tao stomped his foot. The origin source wheel in his dantian began to spin wildly. Waves of rich power of heaven and earth flowed through his meridians and into the heaven and earth monolith. Boom! Under the support of the power of heaven and earth, the purplish gold light above the heaven and earth monolith was almost at its peak. In the end, it crossed 99 feet and entered the 100 feet mark. In the end, the purplish gold light revealed LV Tao's name at the 100 feet mark. Furthermore, the words were extremely dazzling. LV Nantian, who was originally a little disappointed, said excitedly, "Tao really didn't disappoint me. He finally broke through and reached the limit of the heaven and earth monolith." Qin Badian, Su Tianliang, Zhu Qi, and Luo Xing, who were at the front of the group, were shocked when they saw the dazzling name at the 100 feet mark on the monolith. At the same time, the entire square was in an uproar when the purplish gold light broke through the 99 feet mark and reached 100 feet. Countless uproars rang out one after another. In the corner of the square, when the purplish gold light reached 100 feet mark, Zhuowen's pupils shrank suddenly. There was also a look of shock in his eyes. LV Tao's result was really abnormal. He had actually reached the limit of the heaven and earth monolith, 100 feet. He's really a genius. I'm afraid no one here can break LV Tao's terrifying result. Qiu Qiu couldn't help but sigh. Hearing this, Zhuowen and the others nodded in agreement. LV Tao's strength was indeed terrifying. It seemed that the title of the #1 expert in Muqing County wasn't undeserved. In front of the heaven and earth monolith, LV Tao slowly withdrew his palm. His expression didn't change. He was still as calm as ever as he returned to the group. Once LV Tao's test was over, the tests for the 6 top geniuses of the younger generation in Muqing County had also come to an end. Next, it was time to test the rest of the group. The first to be tested was naturally the geniuses of the 5 superfactions: House of Marquis Qin, Jade Lady Star Court, Marquis Baichuan, Marquis Yongxing, and Imperial Sword Sect. Everyone in the square was very patient. They didn't feel that waiting for the test was a kind of torture. After all, when the other groups were tested, the spectators could constantly analyze the gap between them and their opponents. This would be very helpful in the battles after entering the trial mountain. The tests were carried out in an orderly manner. Zhuowen, who was standing in the corner of the square, was also silently paying attention to the results of the geniuses of the 5 superfactions. These geniuses of the 5 superfactions were indeed much stronger than the average faction. Most of them were able to obtain the Earth rank imprint. Only a small number of them obtained the human rank imprint. Among them, Lu Yuanhua of the House of Marquis Qin had actually reached the ultimate emperor realm. On the heaven rank section of the heaven rank section, he stopped at 530 feet. Chapter 435. Tyrannical Chu City. There were close to 100 people in the 5 super factions teams. Once the test was over, it would be a majestic team from a super city. However, what surprised Zhuan was that there were actually 50 people in the 5 super factions teams who had obtained the heaven rank imprint. This meant that there were 50 people in the younger generation of the 5 super factions who were at the second wheel of the ultimate emperor realm. This number was terrifying. 50 people didn't seem like a lot, but there were 1,000 teams in the training field. Among the 10,000 people, only 10 to 20% of them were at the first wheel of the ultimate emperor realm. As for the second wheel of the ultimate emperor realm, needless to say, there were even fewer of them. Half of the 5 superfactions teams were geniuses. It had to be said that the 5 superfactions were indeed the top forces in Muqing County. They were actually able to nurture so many geniuses. Brother Zhua, it'll be our Broken Rock City's turn soon. We'll be going first. Ouyang Hanxian smiled and nodded at Zhuan. He prepared to lead Broken Rock City's team to the Heaven and Earth tablet for the test. Brother Hanxian, you should be at the peak of the first wheel of the ultimate emperor realm. I'm afraid you're not far from the second wheel. If you work hard, you might even be able to obtain the heaven rank imprint. Zhuan looked sincerely at Ouyang Hanxian. Ouyang Hanxian shook his head when he heard this. Just as he was about to speak, a rather arrogant voice rumbled over, causing Ouyang Hanxian and Zhuan to frown. A mere ultimate emperor realm cultivator wants to obtain the heaven rank imprint? Stop dreaming! Ouyang Hanxian, with your cultivation, you can only obtain the earth rank imprint. This voice was extremely loud and clear, immediately attracting the attention of many people in the surroundings. Zhuan's gaze shifted slightly, following the source of the voice. He saw a group of people quickly walking over from the crowd. This group of people was full of qi and had a vast aura. Clearly, they weren't ordinary people. Standing in front of the team was a red-haired youth with bare arms. He was tall and muscular, and his handsome face was full of arrogance. Obviously, this person had an arrogant and despotic character. However, what caused Zhuan's eyes to narrow slightly was that the aura of this red-haired youth was not restrained at all. Instead, it was completely released. The powerful aura seemed to have solidified the air within a 1-foot radius around him, forming numerous cyclones. Many weak warriors simply did not dare to approach this youth. A gray-robed old man stood beside the red-haired young man. The gray-robed old man looked ordinary, but when Zhuowen's gaze focused on the gray-robed old man, his pupils involuntarily shrank. Although the old man's aura was extremely obscure, Nguyen still felt a terrifying sense of threat from him. Moreover, this feeling wasn't any weaker than Qiu Chao's. Clearly, this old man was a 4-wheel ultimate emperor realm cultivator just like Qiu Chou. Nguyen, this is the team of the super city, Tyrant Chu City. They're not a team to be trifled with. As if seeing the confusion on Zhuowen's face, Guyu Tian hurriedly came to his side and explained. Although Guyu Tian was only the city lord of a low-level city, his ability to gather information was not weak. Before the Vitality Tower had opened, Guyu Tian had spent a lot of effort gathering information and knew many forces like the back of his hand. Tyrant Chu City? Zhuan muttered with narrowed eyes. Tyrant Chu City is one of the top forces among the super cities. Its foundation is even more terrifying than Broken Rock Cities. That red-haired youth is the captain of Tyrant Chu City's team. His name is Lu Che, and he's extremely talented. The gray-robed elder beside Lu Che is the city lord of Tyrant Chu City. His nickname is the Limitless Old Man. His strength is at the ultimate emperor stage, and he's considered a famous expert in Muqing County. Hearing this, Zhuowen's gaze once again focused on the gray-robed elder. No wonder he gave off a threatening feeling. The limitless old man's strength was just as he'd guessed. He was actually an ultimate emperor stage expert. Gu Yutian glanced at the gray-robed elder with fear and continued, Tyrant Chu City and Broken Rock City are extremely close to each other. In the past 100 years, in order to compete for the surrounding resources, the two cities have frequently fought and killed each other. Their relationship can be said to be extremely bad. Hearing this, Zhuan knew that Tyrant Chu City did not come with good intentions. However, Lu Nantian and the others were present in the training field. No matter how bold Tyrant Chu City was, he would not dare to make a move here. Lu Che, what do you mean? Ouyang Hanchuan's gaze immediately darkened as he stared coldly at the red-haired youth in front of him. What do I mean? What I mean is that you're just a piece of trash. Can't you even understand that? You really have a pig's brain. The red-haired youth, Lu Che, laughed coldly. What right do you have to talk about me? Do you think you can obtain the heaven-level imprint? Don't shoot yourself in the foot when the time comes. Ouyang Hanxian snorted coldly. You don't have to worry about that. I, Lu Che, will definitely obtain the heaven-level imprint. However, if you want to obtain the heaven-level imprint, I'm afraid it will be very difficult. As he spoke, the aura on Lu Che's body suddenly rose steadily, directly reaching a terrifying level. His head of red hair stood on end. Ultimate Emperor Stage. Feeling the aura exploding from Lu Che's body, Ouyang Hanchuan's handsome and fair face suddenly revealed a trace of shock. Soon after, his expression became even more gloomy. To obtain the heaven-level imprint, one needed to be at least at the Ultimate Emperor Stage. Of course, there were some cultivators at the peak of the Ultimate Emperor Stage who were extremely powerful and talented and had the qualifications to obtain the heaven-level imprint. However, such monstrous geniuses were extremely rare. Although Ouyang Hanchuan's talent was rather high, he was far from reaching the level of a monstrous genius. Therefore, even if he had the strength of a peak Ultimate Emperor Stage cultivator, it was still very difficult for him to obtain the heaven-level imprint. However, Lu Che was a genuine Ultimate Emperor Stage cultivator, so obtaining the heaven-level imprint was still relatively easy. Ouyang Hanxian, you'd better pray that you don't meet me in the training mountain. Otherwise, I can't guarantee that I won't hold back at all. Lu Che sneered. Boom. A pressure as heavy as a mountain suddenly overturned. The originally cold smile on Lu Che's face instantly froze. With a muffled groan, he actually retreated more than 10 steps. His expression was extremely ugly as he looked at the figure in front of him. Limitless old man, take care of your dog. Otherwise, this old man might not be able to resist breaking his dog's legs. Chiu Cho slowly stepped forward. His gaze was cold as the aura of an Ultimate Emperor Stage cultivator surged out from his body without reservation. The originally calm limitless old man's expression changed slightly when he sensed this vast aura. He suddenly stepped forward and blocked in front of Lu Che. A similarly powerful aura surged out from his body to resist Chiu Cho's powerful aura. Chiu Cho, the old man came when the young one couldn't do it? Is this the style of your Broken Rock City? The limitless old man's expression was gloomy as he mocked. It was clearly your dog who provoked me first. If this wasn't the training square, this old man would have already beaten your dog to the point that even an old dog like you wouldn't be able to recognize him. Chiu Cho wasn't someone who was afraid of trouble. He coldly stared at the limitless old man as he spoke. Chiu Cho's mouth was extremely venomous. His words directly scolded the limitless old man and Lu Che, causing the limitless old man's expression to become extremely gloomy. Could Lu Che be wrong? The younger generation of your Broken Rock City isn't very good. Up until now, there hasn't been a single Ultimate Emperor Stage cultivator who has reached the second wheel. Even the most outstanding Ouyang Hanxian is only at the peak of the Ultimate Emperor Stage. TSK. As he spoke, the limitless old man's gaze shifted slightly and stared at Guyu Tian and Jun. After a pause, he shook his head and mocked, looks like your Broken Rock City really isn't going to make it. Not only is the younger generation so weak, you're even mixing with the lowly commoners of these low-level cities. I think you're really hopeless. Back when Lu Nantian had gathered 1,000 city lords, Guyu Tian had been the last to go up on stage. At that time, The former's performance had been extremely unusual and reserved. The other city lords in the square basically knew that Gu Tian was the city lord of the only low-level city, Ratan Armor City. When Chiu Chou heard this, his expression became even more unsightly. Just as he was about to retort, a figure walked out first. Zhuowen. Chiu Chou looked at the figure that had suddenly appeared with some surprise. Old dog, watch your words. Your King Chu city is a super city. That little dog called Lu Che that you've raised isn't much either. He's only at the early stage of the ultimate emperor stage. What's there to be proud of? Zhuowen's gaze was calm as he stared at the limitless old man and spoke word by word. When Zhuowen said this, the square immediately fell silent. The people from King Chu city, including the limitless old man and Lu Che, all stared blankly at the youth in front of them. They never thought that this lowly commoner from a low-level city would actually dare to insult them to their faces. It was fine if Chiu Chou insulted them. After all, Chiu Chou was an ultimate emperor stage cultivator. Furthermore, his unruly character was well known. Being insulted by him was nothing. However, who was this Zhuowen? He was only a contestant from a low-level city. His status wasn't even comparable to a city lord. What right did he have to insult them in front of them? Little bastard, do you dare to say that again? The limitless old man's gaze was extremely gloomy. In the depths of his eyes, there was even a hint of killing intent. This little brat who smelled of milk in front of him really didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. He was clearly just a lowly commoner from a low-level city, but he actually dared to hoot in front of him. Who gave him the guts? Picking his ears, Zhuowen spread out his hands and said, "Can you lower your voice a little? You're already so old, yet you're still barking so loudly. Don't you feel tired? You little brat, see if this old man doesn't kill you." The limitless old man's eyes instantly became incomparably red. The aura on his body rose to the extreme. He stomped his foot and stretched out his right hand, directly rushing toward Zhuowen. His right hand formed a claw and grabbed toward Zhuowen's throat. Chapter 436. Everlasting old man, how dare you? Chiu Chou was enraged when he saw everlasting old man's shameless attack. He took a step forward and arrived in front of Zhuowen. He waved his right hand and slammed it against everlasting old man's claw. Rumble. As the palms and claws collided, a ring-shaped shockwave swept out. The ground within a radius of several feet cracked open and countless rocks floated up. The nearby cultivators were all affected by the shockwaves of the collision and were forced to retreat. Broken Rock City's Chiu Chou and Tyrant Chu City's Wuji Old Man have actually made a move. These two are bona fide Ultimate Emperor Realm cultivators. The shockwaves from their clash are already so powerful. How terrifying! Chu Ba City and Broken Rock City have never been on good terms. It's normal for them to fight when they meet, but this is the training grounds. These two actually dare to fight. Aren't they afraid of Marquis Lu's wrath? That's true. Look, Marquis Lu and the others seem to have noticed this. Waves of air swirled and many cultivators in the surroundings hurriedly retreated. Their faces were filled with fear as they discussed. Lu Nantian, who was presiding over the test on the firmament tablet, frowned slightly. He had also noticed the fight between Chiu Chou and Everlasting Old Man. He snorted coldly and waved his right hand. An invisible force spread out and Chiu Chou and Everlasting Old Man, who were originally fighting, immediately retreated. Private fights are not allowed in the training grounds. If the two of you want to continue fighting, don't blame me for killing the two of you. A mighty voice rolled out, sounding very solemn. Chiu Chou and Everlasting Old Man lowered their heads and bowed respectfully to Lu Nantan. Then, they returned to their own teams and did not dare to fight again. Little bastard, consider yourself lucky today. If this wasn't the training grounds, you wouldn't be able to pay for it even if you had 10 dog lives. Everlasting Old Man stared coldly at Tun. Then he led his team to a huge rock not far from the group from Broken Rock City. Brat, I'll let you jump around for a while. When you enter the training mountain, you better not meet me. Otherwise, I will let you know what it feels like to wish you were dead. Lu Che, who was standing behind the Wuji Old Man, glared coldly at Zhuowen as he snarled. Don't worry, I don't care about what a dog does. If we meet on the training mountain, I will only break your dog's legs. I won't take your dog life. Spreading out his hands, Zhuan laughed mockingly. Just you wait. Hearing Zhuan calling him a dog's leg and a dog's life, Lu Che was so angry that he wanted to vomit blood. In the end, he held back his desire to make a move. After leaving behind some harsh words, he directly followed behind the everlasting old man. Zhuan's mouth was too poisonous. He was afraid that if he continued to stay, he would really not be able to hold back and directly attack. You have to be careful of this Lu Che. Although this guy isn't very smart and likes to show off, his strength is not bad. If you really meet this guy on the training mountain, you can just forfeit if you can't beat him. That way, you can at least save your life. Chiu Chou cautioned Zhuan. As Zhuan had purposely concealed his aura, he only displayed the strength of an early-stage Emperor Realm cultivator. Therefore, everyone thought that Zhuan's strength was not strong. Oh, I can still forfeit after entering the training mountain? Hearing this, Zhuan asked in surprise. Yes. The mark of heaven and earth is the pass to the training mountain. If you voluntarily forfeit the mark of heaven and earth, the training mountain will directly send you out. Of course, once you are sent out, it means that you no longer have the qualifications to enter the third level. Chiu Chou nodded. Hearing this, Zhuan nodded in understanding. It seemed that the mark of heaven and earth was similar to the identity token on the first level of the Origin Chi Tower. Forfeiting could save one's life, but the price was being eliminated. It's our Broken Rock City's turn now. Han Xian, lead the team to the heaven and earth monolith. Also, you don't have to pay attention to that idiot Lu Che's words. As long as you work hard, it doesn't matter if you can obtain the heaven rank mark or not. Ouyang Yuntu said seriously to Ouyang Yuntu and the others. Ouyang Hanxian nodded, but his eyes were filled with determination. He led the 8 people from Broken Rock City to the heaven and earth monolith. Ouyang Hanxian didn't go up to take the test first. Instead, he let his team members take the test first. Fortunately, most of his team members were half-step Ultimate Emperor Realm cultivators, so they were all able to obtain the human rank mark. Ouyang Ruoli's progress was also not bad. She had already reached the early stage Emperor Realm. During the test, the golden light formed by her directly entered the earth rank area like a hot knife through butter. Finally, it stopped at about 300 feet. Among the many names, it was rather unremarkable. However, to Ouyang Ruoli, this kind of result was already very good. After Ouyang Ruoli finished her test, Ouyang Hanxian slowly walked up to the heaven and earth monolith. He took a deep breath and gently placed his right palm on the surface of the monolith. The power of heaven and earth in his body silently entered the monolith. Ouyang Yuntu, Chiu Chou, Tuan, and the others in the plaza all stared unblinkingly at Ouyang Hanxian as he began his test. Ouyang Hanxuan's current cultivation level could actually break through to the second wheel Ultimate Emperor Realm at any time. If Ouyang Hanxian worked hard, there was still hope for him to obtain the heaven rank mark. Not far away, the everlasting old man and Lu Che also stared at the heaven and earth monolith. Their faces were full of ridicule. They didn't believe that Ouyang Hanxian, who hadn't even reached the second wheel Ultimate Emperor Realm, could obtain the heaven and earth mark. The golden light was like an arrow released from a bow. It shot directly towards the top of the monolith. In the blink of an eye, the golden light broke through 200 feet and entered the earth rank area. Moreover, after entering the earth rank area, its speed didn't decrease. It brazenly shot towards the heaven rank area. When the golden light reached 450 feet, its speed began to slow down. Moreover, with every 10 feet, its speed became even slower. When the golden light reached 490 feet, its speed was no different from that of a tortoise. It was still moving in place. There's only 10 feet left. I must cross this 10 feet. The veins on Ouyang Hanxuan's forehead bulged as he roared. This Ouyang Hanxian really is trash. It seems that he can only stop at 490 feet. Lu Che, who was beside the everlasting old man, crossed his arms and laughed mockingly. He's just moaning for no reason. What's the use of shouting so loudly? No strength is no strength, Kiki. The everlasting old man sneered. Boom. As soon as the everlasting old man's voice fell, the golden light that had been hovering in the 490 feet above the heaven rank area grew even more vigorous. It suddenly shot up and actually reached 500 feet. It just so happened to cross the 500 feet mark and enter the heaven rank area with great difficulty. This brat actually entered the heaven rank area? The everlasting old man's smile froze as he frowned slightly. Lu Che narrowed his eyes and said coldly, "What a lucky fellow. He actually crossed the 500 feet mark by just a little. However, Ouyang Hanxuan's strength is just that little. If he meets me, he'll still be instantly killed. However, you have to be careful. Broken Rock City's Cho is also an Ultimate Emperor Realm expert. He might have given Ouyang Hanxian some powerful trump cards, so don't be careless." The everlasting old man said indifferently, "Sir, I will be careful." Lu Che nodded respectfully. "And that brat from Rattan Armor City. His cultivation is clearly only at the Ultimate Emperor Realm, but he actually dares to be so arrogant in front of this old man. If you meet that brat in the Trial Mountain, kill him immediately. Don't give him a chance to forfeit." The everlasting old man stared coldly at the nearby Zhuan. "Even if you didn't mention it, I would have done it. That brat thinks that he can be so arrogant just because he has the backing of Broken Rock City. When the time comes, I will let him know that even Broken Rock City won't have a good ending if they provoke our Tyrant Chu City, let alone a lowly commoner from a low-level city." Lu Che grinned, revealing his white teeth. Compared to the gloomy atmosphere on the everlasting old man's side, Chiu Cho, Ouyang Yuntu, and Zhuan were rather happy. They were obviously very happy that Ouyang Hanxian had obtained the heaven rank imprint. Beside the heaven and earth tablet, Ouyang Hanxian let out a light sigh. His eyes were filled with relief and excitement. He didn't expect that he would obtain the heaven rank imprint in the end. It was quite rare for an Ultimate Emperor Realm cultivator to obtain the heaven rank imprint. Therefore, after Ouyang Hanxian finished his test, Lu Nantian and the others nodded with praise. After Ouyang Hanxian returned to the group, he was naturally overjoyed. Even Zhuan couldn't help but congratulate him, making Ouyang Hanxian unable to contain his joy. "Tyrant Chu, come forward and take the test." Not long after, Lu Nantian suddenly shouted from the front, "Lu Che, perform well. It's best if you show your full strength and let those old fellows from Broken Rock City see the strength of our Tyrant Chu City." The everlasting old man crossed his arms and calmly instructed, "Sir, don't worry. With my strength, entering the heaven rank area is a simple matter. Surpassing Ouyang Hanxuan's ranking is inevitable." Lu Che nodded. Then, he coldly stared at the group from Broken Rock City not far away and directly led them to the front of the heaven and earth tablet. It's that hateful Lu Che's turn. In the group from Broken Rock City, Ouyang Ruoli frowned slightly and said with disgust, "Although this Lu Che's personality is hateful, he is indeed very strong. I'm afraid that this fellow's ranking will surpass mine." Ouyang Hanxian said with a helpless expression. Although he was lucky enough to obtain the heaven rank imprint, he was at the bottom of the heaven rank area. Those geniuses who were able to obtain the heaven rank imprint were all ranked above him. Lu Che's strength had already reached the Ultimate Emperor realm, so it was normal for him to surpass him in ranking. What's so great about him? This hateful fellow's cultivation is only one level higher than Big Brother's, but he's still so arrogant. With Big Brother's current cultivation, I'm afraid that you won't be far from advancing to the Ultimate Emperor realm. When you break through, let's see if Lu Che can still be so arrogant." Ouyang Ruoli said with a snort. Chapter 437. Limitless Startling Cloud. Art. Lu Che led Chu Bacheng's team and walked in front of the heaven and earth monolith in high spirits. The corners of his mouth curled up, and his face was filled with arrogance. Many people in the square frowned at the former's behavior. Lu Che's choice was the same as Ouyang Hanxuan's. He wanted to be the last to take the test. He wanted to let the other 10 people in his team take the test first. In an instant, the heaven and earth monolith flickered with golden light. Soon, the other 7 people from King Chu's team had finished their tests. However, King Chu's team was indeed stronger than Broken Rock City's team. Two of his team members were at the first wheel of the Ultimate Emperor realm, and both of them had obtained the Earth rank imprint. The other 5 were half-step Ultimate Emperor realm and had obtained the Human rank imprint. After the 7 of them finished their tests, Lu Che slowly walked towards the Heaven and Earth monolith. He raised his head and focused his gaze on Ouyang Hanquan's name on the monolith, a disdainful sneer on his face. Ouyang Hanxian? So what if you're lucky enough to obtain the Heaven rank imprint? In my eyes, you're just a piece of trash. With a cold smile, Lu Che placed his right hand on the Heaven and Earth monolith. Suddenly, a golden light flickered and shot up, instantly crossing the Human rank region and entering the Earth rank region. However, after entering the Earth rank region, the golden light slowed down slightly. Soon, the golden light reached the 500-foot region. At this point, its speed was extremely slow, but it still shot up. In the end, it stopped at the 500-foot region. Its ranking was just below that of the house of Marquis Qin, Lu Yuanhua. Lu Che was clearly not satisfied with this result. He clapped his hands and left the Heaven and Earth monolith, leading King Chu's team back to the square. Looks like your King Chu's Lu Che isn't that strong after all. He's clearly an Ultimate Emperor realm cultivator, but he only reached the 500-foot region. This performance is barely satisfactory. Chiu Cho suddenly mocked loudly. Hearing this, the old man's face darkened. He said coldly, "He's much better than your Broken Rock City's Ouyang Hanxian. At least Lu Che is an Ultimate Emperor realm cultivator. But what about Broken Rock City? Has anyone in the younger generation reached the Ultimate Emperor realm? You only know how to hang out with the lowly commoners of some low-level cities. You're really dragging down the face of our super cities." Low-level city? Is Chu Ba-ching really that outstanding? I'm afraid that even your number 1 expert, Lu Che, is not as good as me. Zhuan retorted coldly. Seeing that the Wuji old man was looking down on Rotan Armor City in every possible way, Zhuan was a little angry. Yo, you little rascal, you still have a temper? Did I say something wrong? What kind of genius could a low-level city like yours produce? Do you really think that a little brat at the first will extreme emperor realm like you can compare to Lu Che? The everlasting old man sneered. Since you're so sure that the contestants from Vine Armor City are not as good as those from King Chu City, do you dare to bet with me? Zhuan narrowed his eyes. How do you want to bet? The everlasting old man asked with interest. It's very simple. Let's compare the results of the Sky and Earth monolith. If my ranking is higher than Lu Che's, then Tengjia City wins. Otherwise, we'll lose. What do you think? Do you dare to bet? Yuan took a step forward and challenged the everlasting old man. Hearing this, the everlasting old man couldn't help but be stunned. Then he began to laugh loudly. He stared at Yuan like he was looking at an idiot. Little rascal, I think water has entered your brain? You want to compare rankings with Lu Che? With your strength? You're really making me laugh my head off. I'm just asking you if you dare or not. If you don't, then pretend I didn't say anything, Yuan said indifferently with a slight smirk. The everlasting old man narrowed his eyes and said with a darkened expression, "What an arrogant brat. Do you think I'm afraid of you? Since you insist on betting, then I'll keep you company. However, the stakes will be decided by me." All right. Zhuan nodded. At this moment, Gu Yutian, Chiu Cho, and Ouyang Yuntu's expressions changed drastically. They never thought that Zhuan would actually make a bet with the everlasting old man on his own accord. Moreover, it was a bet on rankings. Although Zhuan's talent was decent and he had successfully reached the Ultimate Emperor realm, he was only at the early stage of the Ultimate Emperor realm. He could probably only reach around 300 feet on the Sky and Earth monolith. On the other hand, Lu Che's ranking was 550 feet high. It wasn't something an early-stage Ultimate Emperor realm cultivator could reach. As a result, Yuan was bound to lose this bet. Zhuan, that Lu Che is a second-wheel Ultimate Emperor realm cultivator. Trying to compete with him in terms of ranking is like trying to break a rock with an egg. Gu Yutian advised with an ugly expression. Ouyang Yuntu, Chiu Cho, and the others' expressions were rather unnatural. However, Yuan wasn't someone from Broken Rock City, so they couldn't persuade him otherwise. They could only shake their heads. "Lord Gu, don't worry. I know what I'm doing. Yuan cautiously glanced at Gu Yutian and gave him a reassuring look. Gu Yutian sighed when he heard that. He knew Zhuowen's personality well, so even if he tried to persuade him now, he probably wouldn't be able to change his mind. Right now, Gu Yutian was only praying in his heart that old man Wuji's wager wasn't too expensive. Otherwise, with Rattan Armor City's foundation, they wouldn't be able to take out a wager of the same value. Even if you regret it now, it's too late. You have to accept this bet even if you don't want to, the everlasting old man snickered. Cut the crap. Hurry up and take out the bet. Yuan impatiently waved his hand. Zhuowen's attitude immediately infuriated the everlasting old man. He thought to himself that he would definitely make Zhuowen go bankrupt this time. My bet is the low Emperor tier armor skill, the limitless art of startling cloud. This is an armor skill that can be combined with palm techniques, fist techniques, or various weapons. It can be said to be extremely useful. Kid, do you have anything comparable to the limitless art of startling cloud? The everlasting old man said proudly. When Gu Yutian, Xiu Chou, and the others saw the everlasting old man take out an Emperor tier armor skill as a bet, they were all shocked. Among them, Gu Yutian secretly complained. The value of this Emperor tier armor skill far exceeded the entire territory of Rattan Armor City. Even if the entire Rattan Armor City was sold, it might not be worth as much as the limitless art of startling cloud. It's over. This bet is too big. It's not something our Rattan Armor City can afford. Gu Yutian's face was extremely pale as he bitterly smiled to himself. Even Ouyang Yuntu and Xiu Chou shook their heads. Even their broken rock city would suffer great losses if they took out such a bet. The everlasting old man was clearly making things difficult for Zhuowen on purpose. Yes, why not? After Zhuowen glanced at the limitless art of startling cloud, a glimmer of light flashed through his eyes. Until now, he had never owned an Emperor tier armor skill. Since an Emperor tier armor skill had been delivered to his doorstep, he naturally wouldn't be polite. With that, Zhuowen patted his Qianquan bag and immediately took out a crystal that looked like a flame. Waves of blazing aura constantly emitted from the crystal. This is refined crystal jade? Heavens, Zhuowen, why do you have something like this on you? Xiu Chou recognized the refined crystal jade at a glance and couldn't help but exclaim. When the surrounding people heard this, their faces immediately changed. Many people had heard of the refined crystal jade before. This item was extremely rare in the Qingxian Empire. It was basically a rare treasure that had a price but no market. Its value in the Qingxian Empire was extremely high. Just like an Emperor tier armor skill, it was also something that money might not necessarily buy. Looking at the refined crystal jade in Zhuowen's hand, the everlasting old man's eyes involuntarily narrowed. He didn't expect that Zhuowen would actually have such a rare treasure on him. One had to know that even their Tyrant Chu city didn't have a single refined crystal jade. No wonder you're so confident. So you have a rare treasure like the refined crystal jade on you. But do you think the value of a single refined crystal jade is comparable to an Emperor tier armor skill? You'll need at least 10 of them, otherwise. Before the everlasting old man could finish his words, his voice came to an abrupt halt. He could only stare blankly at the young man in front of him. The young man patted his Qianquan bag again, and a fiery red aura swept out violently. Immediately after, refined crystal jades in the shape of flames suddenly floated around the young man's body. 10 should be enough, right? Zhuowen said indifferently. Gu Yutian, Xiu Chou, Ouyang Yuntu, and the others who were watching from the side were also stunned. They looked at the 10 flame-like refined crystal jades around the young man's body with some disbelief. They couldn't help but gasp lightly. The fact that Zhuowen was able to take out one refined crystal jade had already shocked them, but now he was able to take out 10 at once. Moreover, he did not even frown. This naturally caused them to be extremely shocked. Even the everlasting old man, who was full of himself, didn't say anything at this time. However, a trace of greed flashed in his eyes as he stared at the 10 refined crystal jades in front of Zhuowen. This kid clearly came from a low-level city. How could he have so many refined crystal jades on him? Moreover, looking at this kid's indifferent appearance, I'm afraid there should be a lot of refined crystal jades in his Jianquan bag. With this thought in mind, the everlasting old man nodded and sneered, 10 should be enough. Anyway, when your results are out, these 10 are destined to be our Chuba cities. That's not necessarily true. Perhaps the limitless art of startling cloud in your hands will be mine when the time comes. Zhuan shook his head. At the same time, Lu Che had led Chuba city's group back. The everlasting old man naturally told them about Zhuowen's bet, causing Lu Che to look at Zhuowen in surprise. Soon after, his eyes were filled with mockery. What an ignorant brat. When it's his turn to take the test, he'll know how stupid the bet was. Lu Che shook his head and sneered. Chapter 438. The stakes. The test continued in an orderly manner. After the teams from the superpowers were done, it was the turn of the high-ranked cities. There were far fewer Ultimate Emperor Realm experts in the high-ranked cities, but fortunately, there were a lot of high-ranked cities, so there were quite a few who obtained the Heaven rank insignia. The teams from high-ranked cities spent a full 6 hours to complete the test. Next was the turn of the teams from the mid-ranked cities. Although the teams from these cities were quite strong, there wasn't a single Ultimate Emperor Realm cultivator among them. The strongest among them was only a half-step Ultimate Emperor Realm cultivator. It was obvious that luck played a large part in why these teams had been able to make it to the second level. After an hour, all the teams from the mid-ranked cities had finished their tests. In the end, only the low-ranked city, Rattan Armor City, was left. Rattan Armor City, come forth. Lu Nantian cleared his throat and announced loudly. As soon as he said this, a trace of interest appeared in the eyes of everyone in the plaza. They also knew that the last team to take the test was the team from the only low-ranked city out of the 1,000. Let's see just what kind of divine being Rattan Armor City is. It's clearly just a low-ranked city, but they were able to advance to the second floor. I wonder how strong the team from Rattan Armor City is? They shouldn't be very strong. A low-ranked city is a low-ranked city, after all. How can they nurture true geniuses if their foundations are too weak? I'm afraid that they were only able to advance to the second floor by luck. Then their luck is too good. There has never been a record of a low-ranked city advancing to the second floor in the past. Countless gazes gathered on the worldly monolith. They were looking forward to seeing what kind of insignia the team from Rattan Armor City would obtain under the worldly monolith's test. When he saw Rattan Armor City's team, Guyu Tian's expression became even more worried. He asked with a troubled expression, Hyun, do you have the confidence to surpass Lu Che's results? Although Zhuowen had already placed his bet, the value of 10 refined crystal jades was too high. If he lost to Chu Ba-ching just like that, his heart would ache. Lord Gu, you will know when the time comes. Zhuowen smiled mysteriously and nodded at Ouyang Yuntu, Qiu Chou, and the others. Then, he led Gu Xin and Hu Wuing towards the heaven and earth monolith. Father, Senior Qiu, do you think Brother Zhuo can surpass Lu Che? After all, their bet this time is a bit too big. Ouyang Hanxian asked with some worry. I'm not sure, but I don't think Zhuowen is an impulsive person. Perhaps he's still hiding his true strength. Ouyang Yunta shook his head. I feel that Zhuowen has a chance of surpassing Lu Che. From the past until now, this old man has never seen this kid lose. Qiu Chou nodded. He couldn't help but recall the strange aura on Zhuowen's body. He felt that Zhuowen wasn't simple. You guys are really confident in that trash. Even your Broken Rock City's Ouyang Hanxian is ranked lower than me. You guys are so naive to think that a brat from a low-level city can surpass me. Hee hee, what a joke. Not far away, Lu Che seemed to have heard the conversation between Qiu Chou and the others. He suddenly grinned, revealing a row of cold teeth. The mockery on his face became even more intense. You? Ouyang Hanxian was furious. Just as he was about to retort, Qiu Chou stopped him. Don't bother with him. Let's see how Zhuowen's test results are first, Qiu Chou said in a deep voice. Hearing this, Ouyang Hanxian could only give up. He no longer paid any attention to Lu Che, who was laughing wantonly. Instead, he stared straight at the three figures walking towards the heaven and earth monolith. In his heart, he prayed that Zhuan wouldn't disappoint them. At this moment, the people in the plaza unconsciously opened up a path. They silently sized up Zhuan's group of three as they slowly walked past. Among these gazes, there was doubt, ridicule, curiosity, and disdain. The people from the 5 superfactions at the front were also sizing up the 3 figures with interest. Each of them had a different expression on their faces. Third brother, Zhuan's rate of improvement is really fast. The aura on his body has actually reached the ultimate emperor stage, although it's only at the initial stage of the first cycle. In the house of Marquis Qin's team, LV Yongxing narrowed his eyes and said, "His rate of improvement is really fast. However, my rate of improvement is even faster than this bastard's. If I meet this brat in the trial mountain this time, I'll definitely be able to kill him in an instant." Lu Yuanhua's eyes were cold as he licked his lips. This brat should only be able to obtain an Earth rank imprint. I hope you're lucky enough to meet this brat. LV Yongxing nodded. Among the 5 superfactions teams, only LV Yongxing and Lu Yuanhua from the house of Marquis Qin glanced at Zhuan's group of 3. The elegant LV Tao, the domineering Qin Batian, the indifferent Zhu Qi, and the ridiculous-looking Su Tianyang didn't pay any attention to Zhuan at all. They just stood in front of their teams with their eyes closed, resting as they waited for the trial mountain to open. After all, the difference between a low-level city and a province's superfaction was too great. They couldn't be bothered to pay attention to such a small fry and lower their status. Even if Rat-Tan Armor City became the first low-level city in history to reach the second level of the Yuan Qi Tower, it still wouldn't attract their attention. However, Luo Xing from Jade Maiden Star Court's beautiful eyes moved as she glanced at Tsun. This was the first time she had seen Zhuan's true face. In the past, she had only heard about Zhuan's deeds from Qing Lian. First wheel Ultimate Emperor stage? His cultivation isn't bad, but it's still not enough to reach the 3rd level. Luo Xing glanced meaningfully at Qing Lian behind her and said indifferently, "Senior sister Luo Xing, I believe in Zhuan's potential. I believe in him." Qing Lian, who was standing behind Luo Xing, stared at the slender figure in the distance with her beautiful eyes and spoke resolutely. "Since you believe in him so much, I'll take a good look and see what kind of results this fellow can achieve on the heaven and earth monolith." Luo Xing nodded slightly and spoke indifferently. Under the gaze of so many people, Zhuan's group of 3 finally ascended the heaven and earth monolith. The 3 of them bowed slightly to Lu Nantian and walked straight to the heaven and earth monolith not far away. "Gu Xinwing, you 2 go first." Zhuan nodded to the 2 people beside him. Gu Xian and Hu Wuying had always followed Zhuan's lead, so they naturally didn't object. They went straight to the heaven and earth monolith to take the test. With a flash of golden light, the results of their tests quickly came out. Without exception, the 2 of them were only able to obtain a human rank imprint. Gu Xian's golden light rose to 120 meters, while Hu Wuying's rose to 110 meters. The difference in strength between the 2 of them wasn't that great. The 3 contestants from Rat-Tan Armor City are quite strong. Apart from Zhuan, the other 2 are actually half-step Ultimate Emperor stage cultivators. This is extremely rare in a low-level city. Lu Nantian nodded after Gu Xian and Hu Wuying finished their tests. It's quite impressive for a low-level city to have 2 half-step Ultimate Emperor stage cultivators. I'm afraid that Rat-Tan Armor City will be able to apply to become a mid-level city after this battle for the Origin Qi Tower. I wonder what rank of imprint Zhuan will be able to obtain? Xian Yuanli nodded. Judging from Zhuan's aura, he's only an early-stage Ultimate Emperor stage cultivator. He should just barely be able to obtain an Earth rank imprint. It's already very difficult for a low-level city to obtain an Earth rank imprint. The master of the meteorite interjected at this moment. "Let's take a look first." Lu Nantian didn't make any guesses. Instead, he stared at the heaven and earth monolith. He had a feeling that this young man wasn't simple. Perhaps something unexpected would happen when the time came. Zhuan didn't rush to start the test when he arrived in front of the heaven and earth monolith. Instead, he tilted his head slightly and looked at the large golden words on the surface of the monolith. They were densely packed and extremely dazzling. Everyone in the trial square had finished their tests, so it was possible to see the approximate ranking of the cultivators on the heaven and earth monolith. Without a doubt, the mortal rank area had the most names. It was obvious that the majority of the names were half-step Ultimate Emperor stage cultivators. Next was the earth rank area, where there were slightly fewer golden names. The heaven rank area had the fewest golden names. The heaven rank area was 500 feet tall, taking up almost half of the entire heaven and earth monolith. However, the names on the heaven rank area were extremely sparse. The distance between each name was several feet, and the higher one went, the more there would be a gap of more than 10 feet. There were about 200 names in the heaven rank area. It was obvious that out of the 10,000 cultivators, only 200 had the strength of a second-wheel Ultimate Emperor stage cultivator. Lve Tao, Luo Xing, and the other 5 were far above the rest of the names in the heaven rank area. These 6 people's strength far exceeded that of a second-wheel Ultimate Emperor stage cultivator. I just need to surpass Lu Che, Zhuan muttered to himself. Then he placed his right hand on the surface of the monolith. Instantly, a dazzling golden light shot up from the bottom of the monolith. It wasn't very fast, but it was extremely tough. 15 feet, 10 feet, 15 feet, 20 feet. It passed through the mortal rank area and entered the earth rank area. In the plaza, the everlasting old man and Lu Che's gazes were focused on the golden light on the heaven and earth monolith. When the golden light entered the earth rank area, their expressions changed slightly, but they remained relatively calm. 25 feet, 30 feet, 35 feet, 40 feet, 450 feet. When the golden light reached 450 feet, the everlasting old man began to frown. He said in a low voice, "This Zhuan is clearly only a first-wheel Ultimate Emperor stage cultivator. How can he reach 450 feet on the heaven and earth monolith?" However, the everlasting old man was slightly relieved to see that the golden light began to slow down when it reached 450 feet. However, it still continued to shoot up tenaciously. 460 feet, 470 feet, 480 feet, 490 feet. Although the speed of the golden light had slowed down, it still managed to reach 490 feet. The everlasting elder was starting to lose his composure. His brows were tightly knitted together. Zhuo Wen's result was somewhat out of his expectations. This piece of trash shouldn't be able to reach 500 feet. However, before the everlasting old man could finish speaking, a commotion broke out in the surroundings. The everlasting old man couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air as he froze in place. Chapter 439. Zhuowen's result. When the golden light broke through the 490 feet mark and entered the heaven stage area, the entire training field fell silent. Everyone's pupils shrank as they stared at the golden light, unable to speak for a long time. He entered the heaven stage area? This brat from a low-level city actually has the ability to obtain a heaven stage imprint? This is unbelievable. Out of the nearly 10,000 cultivators in the training field, only about 200 people can enter the heaven stage area and obtain a heaven stage imprint. Moreover, these 200 people are basically geniuses from the 5 superpowers and super cities. There are even very few geniuses from high-level cities, but this brat actually obtained a heaven stage imprint? How did this brat do it? His aura clearly isn't strong, but he actually entered the heaven stage area? This is too unbelievable. After a long period of silence, the field suddenly erupted into an uproar. Many cultivators rubbed their eyes and stared at the golden light on the heaven and earth monolith again, thinking that they had seen wrongly. However, reality proved that they hadn't. This brat is indeed extraordinary. If I'm not wrong, this one has been hiding his strength all this time. Looking at the results of the heaven and earth monolith, I'm afraid that this brat has also advanced to the Ultimate Emperor realm. Lu Nantian nodded and smiled. The other 4 magnates behind him were also visibly moved. They had originally thought that Zhuowen would only be able to obtain the earthly rank imprint, but this result had undoubtedly overturned their previous guess. Ultimate Emperor Realm? This brat's spiritual force is quite strong. He even managed to deceive us. However, I remember that he was only a half-step Ultimate Emperor Realm cultivator before entering the Origin Chi Tower. It's only been a little over a month, and he's already broken through consecutively? Xian Yuanli seemed to have thought of something and suddenly exclaimed in surprise. Lu Nantian, the master of the meteorite, Qin Ye, and Su Chang realized that they had overlooked the most important point. It seemed that Zhuan had only used a little more than a month to continuously break through to the second wheel of the Ultimate Emperor Realm. This kind of advancement speed was truly terrifying. In the house of Marquis Qin's team, Lu Yuanhua and LV Yongxing's expressions froze when they saw the golden light enter the heaven stage area. Their pupils constricted as they stared at the golden light. They looked at each other and saw a trace of killing intent in each other's eyes. Zhuowen's speed of advancement had already somewhat exceeded their expectations. This kid couldn't be left alive. Otherwise, if he broke through to the Ultimate Emperor Realm again, even they might not be able to kill him. Second brother, we must kill this Zhuowen in this trial mountain. Otherwise, with his advancement speed, it won't be easy to kill him in the future. LV Yongxing's gaze darkened as he transmitted his voice to Lu Yuanhua. I really didn't expect this Zhuowen's talent to be so abnormal. It's only been a little over a month, and he's already jumped 2 stages. This kid must be dealt with as soon as possible. Lu Yuanhua nodded and transmitted his voice in reply. At the same time, in the Jade Lady Star Court, after seeing the golden light enter the heaven stage area, the originally calm Luo Xing's starry eyes froze for a moment. Then, she looked meaningfully at the figure on the heaven and earth tablet and muttered, "This is interesting. This Zhuowen's performance is indeed somewhat unexpected. Perhaps this kid might be able to enter the 3rd level." As for Qing Lian, who was behind Luo Xing, her originally nervous face immediately let out a light sigh of relief when she saw the golden light enter the heaven stage area. An alluring crimson blush appeared on her fair face, causing Qing Lian to be beautiful and charming at this moment. Luo Xing also noticed Qing Lian's strange behavior behind her and thought to herself, this little girl can't be interested in Zhuan, right? In the entire square, the most surprised people were the Wuji old man and Lu Che. At this moment, the two of them were staring at the golden light on the heaven and earth tablet in a daze. How did this guy do it? The aura on his body is clearly not strong. Lu Che muttered to himself in a daze. Lu Che, what are you afraid of? This Zhuowen hasn't surpassed you yet. What are you worried about? Look at the golden light, it seems to be a little weak. I'm afraid it's only a little more than 500 feet. It's not that easy to surpass your 500 feet. The Wuji old man was, after all, a city lord. He quickly calmed down and snorted coldly. Hearing this, Lu Che came back to his senses and said, "You're right, sir. This kid can't surpass me." Nodding slightly, the Wuji old man also stared at the heaven and earth tablet nervously. After all, the wager this time was an Emperor tier armor skill. Their Tyrant Chu city only had 2 Emperor tier armor skills. If they lost like this, even if their Tyrant Chu city had a deep foundation, it would still be a great loss. After all, Emperor tier armor skills couldn't even be bought. This kid definitely can't surpass 500 feet. Damn brat. The Wuji old man muttered fiercely. The golden light on the heaven and earth monolith stopped at the 500-foot mark for 3 breaths of time. Just as everyone thought that the golden light would not rise any further, the golden light became even brighter. It directly crossed 20 feet and reached 560 feet. This kid has reached 550 feet. This time, the Wuji old man could no longer remain calm. His pupils had shrunk to the size of needles, and he was extremely nervous. Lu Che's heartbeat sped up as well. He constantly muttered to himself that the golden light should stop advancing and so on. Clearly, their hopes were quickly dashed as the golden light on the stone tablet did not show any signs of stopping. It wriggled for a while at the 52 zhang mark before rising to 53 zhang mark. Only then did the golden light collapse and turn into Zhuo Wen's name. It's over. This kid has actually surpassed Lu Che. At this moment, the Wuji old man's face became extremely pale. After all, the wager this time was an Emperor-tier armor skill. It was one of the most precious things in their Tyrant Chu city. Losing it was like losing half of his life. That kind of loss was not something he could bear. Lu Che was extremely stunned as well. He stared blankly at Zhuowen's name without saying anything for a very long time. Compared to the despair of the Wuji old man, and Lu Che, Dun, Xiu Chou, and Gu Tian were excited, and in disbelief. Even they did not think that Zhuowen's result would directly surpass Lu Che's. Although it was only 3 feet higher, they had undoubtedly won the bet earlier. Lord Gu, congratulations. Looks like your Vine Armor City is about to have another Emperor-tier armor skill. Ha! Xiu Chou hurriedly clasped his hands towards Gu Tian and purposely said loudly. His voice was so loud that even the nearby Wuji old man and Lu Che could hear it clearly. This made their faces become even more gloomy. He withdrew his right hand from the monolith. At this moment, there was a Tian imprint on his palm. Clearly, this was a heaven imprint. Huan sighed and calmly retreated to the side of Gu Exen and Hu Wing. He bowed slightly towards Lu Nanton again and slowly returned to the square under the astonished gazes of the crowd. What an interesting fellow. He's clearly just a little brat from a low-level city, but he actually obtained a heaven imprint. Moreover, his ranking seems to be similar to the third prince's. Su Tianliang, who was playing with the 2 balls in his hands, glanced meaningfully at Lu Yuanhua, who had an unsightly expression, and said with a mocking expression, Su Tianliang, what do you mean by this? Lu Yuanhua said with a gloomy expression. Nothing? I just feel that the third prince is still the third son of Marquis Lu. His ranking on the monolith is similar to a nameless brat. Doesn't this seem a bit inappropriate? Su Tianliang said with a chuckle. Hearing this, Lu Yuanhua's lungs almost exploded from anger. He said in a deep voice, the ranking on the monolith doesn't represent strength. If I meet that Zhuowen on the training mountain, I, Lu Yuanhua, can still beat him to a pulp. So that's how it is. The third prince seems to be very confident. But why did I hear that the third prince was once defeated by a brat called Jun? And it was a very ugly defeat. Aya, what a coincidence. The brat who was tested just now seems to be called Juan. The mocking expression on Su Tianliang's face became even more intense. At this moment, Lu Yuanhua was so angry that his shoulders were constantly trembling. His eyes had even become somewhat red. Being defeated by Zhuowen in the ancient cave mansion had always been a disgrace in his heart. Now that Su Tianliang mentioned it to his face, how could Lu Yuanhua not be angry? Su Tianliang, have you had enough? Don't think that just because your ranking is higher than mine on the Green Emperor leaderboard, I won't dare to touch you. Lu Yongsheng couldn't listen to it anymore. He took a step forward and was about to rush towards Su Tianliang. However, the moment Lu Yongsheng took a step forward, a vast power suddenly swept over. Lu Yongsheng's originally stepping figure suddenly stopped, and then he returned to the group. Big brother, why did you stop me? Lu Yongsheng stared at Lu Yitao in front of him and said somewhat angrily. At this moment, Lu Yitao slowly opened his eyes and glanced indifferently at Lu Yongsheng and Lu Yuanhua. He said, private fights are not allowed in the training square. This was set by father. Do you want to go against it? Hearing this, Lu Yongsheng's expression was full of unwillingness. He pointed at Su Tianliang and said, this guy spoke without thinking in front of third brother. Do you want to just let it go like this? Unexpectedly, Lu Yitao shook his head and said, second brother, do you know why you're still at the early stage of the ultimate emperor stage? It's because your Dao heart isn't firm, and at the same time, you're too tied down by emotions. Third brother was too arrogant in the past, and at the same time, he didn't work hard. Suffering some setbacks will only benefit him. As he spoke, Lu Yitao stared at Lu Yuanhua and said, third brother, don't you realize that after you returned from the ancient cave mansion, your progress has become extremely fast? If it was in the past, it wouldn't be possible for you to reach the ultimate emperor stage so quickly, but now you've done it. I know you're very unwilling. Since you're unwilling, then rely on your own strength to defeat Jun. Don't always rely on second brother's strength. Otherwise, you'll find that even if you kill Zhuowen, it will only harm your future cultivation and not benefit you at all. Chapter 440. Entering the Dark Forest. Yun, good job. Well done, I thought you would lose. Looks like I was thinking too much. After Zhuo Wen and the other two returned, Guyu Tian excitedly went up to them and patted Zhuo Wen's shoulder. You've hidden your strength well. To be able to obtain the heaven-level imprint from the worldly monolith, you're probably at the peak of the ultimate emperor realm at the very least. Qiu Chou stared at Zhuo Wen with bright eyes. Apart from a second-wheel ultimate emperor realm cultivator, a peak first-wheel ultimate emperor realm cultivator could also do it, such as Ouyang Hanxian. However, since Zhuo Wen's ranking was higher than Lu Chei's, it was very likely that he was at the second-wheel ultimate emperor realm. Nodding slightly, Thuan smiled. I was lucky enough to break through to the initial stage of the second-wheel ultimate emperor realm on the Sandstone Island. With that, Thuan stopped hiding his aura. The powerful aura of the second-wheel ultimate emperor realm slowly spread out from his body, attracting the attention of many people around him. Zhuo Wen knew that since he had obtained the heaven-level imprint from the worldly monolith, he naturally couldn't hide his strength from others. Thus, he decided to stop hiding it. Of course, if Zhuo Wen counted the many trump cards he had and the strange blood flames, his strength wouldn't just be at the initial stage of the second-wheel ultimate emperor realm. He should be comparable to a peak second-wheel ultimate emperor realm cultivator. That kind of strength would be at least 600 feet on the worldly monolith. As for how much it was exactly, Thuan wasn't too sure. Guyu Tian, Qiu Chou, and the others felt their hearts tremble when they sensed the powerful aura within Zhuo Wen's body. They were all amazed by Zhuo Wen's monstrous talent. It's time to take back what belongs to us. As he spoke, Zhuo Wen's gaze swept past the group of people and landed on the everlasting old man who had an extremely gloomy expression not too far away. He chuckled loudly as he stepped forward. Everlasting old man, you must accept your loss. Hand over the everlasting cloud technique. Qiu Chou and Ouyang Yuntu followed behind Zhuo Wen. When they arrived in front of Chu Baking and the others, Qiu Chou stared at the everlasting old man maliciously and said, Old ghost everlasting, do you want to go back on your word? If you do, I might directly report you to the Marquis. After all, there are many witnesses here. It's impossible that the Marquis doesn't believe us. The old man's face changed drastically when he heard that. Lu Nanshan's impartiality was renowned in the Muqin commandery. If Qiu Chou really called Lu Nantian over, he would have to hand it over even if he didn't want to. At that time, everyone would know about it and he would lose face. Good. Very good. Zhuo Wen, you little bastard, you've been scheming against me since the beginning, right? This old man is willing to accept his loss. Take this startling cloud limitless art. The old man Wuji's face was cold. He patted his Chenkuan bag and took out a jade slip, tossing it to Zhuo Wen. Then he left with Lu Chei and the others. Clearly, he was too ashamed to stay. After receiving the jade slip, Zhuo Wen bluntly inserted his spiritual force into the jade slip and confirmed that the limitless startling cloud technique recorded within the jade slip was complete. Only then did he put it away into his cosmos bag with a smile on his face. Although Guyu Tian, Qiu Chou and the rest were rather envious of the limitless shocking cloud art in Zhuo Wen's hands, they knew that this was something that Zhuo Wen had won himself. Naturally, they were embarrassed to ask for it and could only look at Zhuo Wen with eyes full of envy. A distant and loud bell suddenly rang out in the square. Like a rolling wave, it reverberated in everyone's ears. The Trial Mountain is about to open. There are countless passageways around the Trial Mountain. In a moment, everyone will draw lots. The bamboo lots will guide you to the passageway. Lu Nantian spoke without hesitation. There were no excessive formalities. As soon as he finished speaking, his hand suddenly grabbed and a bunch of bamboo lots covered in light appeared in his hand. Everyone who has obtained the world mark, draw your lots. As soon as Lu Nantian finished speaking, the bamboo lots in his hand turned into a rain of light and shot into the sky. Swoosh swoosh. As the bamboo lots rose into the sky, the entire square was in an uproar. Countless sounds of people breaking through the air rang out one after another as they fought for the bamboo lots in the sky. Seeing this, Yun stepped lightly and his whole body turned into an afterimage as he rushed into the sky. With a gentle wave of his right hand, he immediately drew one of the bamboo lots. Then, he turned his palm over and wrote North 99. Obviously, it should be the 99th passageway in the north of the Trial Mountain. After returning to Gu Yutian and the others, Juan found that Gu Xian, Hu Wuing, and the people from Broken Rock City had also obtained their own bamboo lots. He asked curiously, "Which passageway is marked on your bamboo lots?" "I'm Nan Wu." Gu Xian spread out her palm. "I'm Dong 32. Hu Wuing also took out his bamboo lot. "It seems that our passageways are different. Mine is West 9 and Ruali's is West 55. Ouyang Hanxian said with a wry smile. "They are indeed different. When we enter the Trial Mountain, I'm afraid we will have to part ways." Zhuo nodded. "The drawing of lots is complete. Everyone, it's time. Go to the passageways marked on your bamboo lots. However, let me make it clear in advance. The Trial Square is thousands of miles away from the Trial Mountain. It's not that easy to reach the Trial Mountain." Seeing that all the bamboo lots had been assigned, Lu Nantian nodded and added, "The Trial Square and the Trial Mountain are covered by a dark forest. So, if you want to enter the Trial Mountain, you have to pass through the dark forest. However, there are many terrifying meta beasts in the dark forest. It's best to be careful in the process. Otherwise, it'll be extremely unfortunate if you lose your life. Now, everyone, enter the Trial Mountain," Lu Nantian said as he waved his right hand. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. As soon as Lu Nantian finished speaking, countless figures flashed out from the sky above the square. They broke through the sky according to the directions marked on their bamboo lots. For a moment, the entire square was like a swarm of locusts passing through. It was extremely spectacular. "Brother Zhuo, we're going in different directions. So we'll go first." Ouyang Hanxian smiled as he cupped his hands toward Jun. Soon after, he led the group from Broken Rock City and followed the countless flashing figures into the dark forest. "The three of you are going in different directions as well. Looks like we'll have to go our separate ways. Be careful along the way. The dark forest is filled with danger." Gu Yutian cautioned Zhuowen and the other two. "Jun, you have to be careful too. You just won the limitless art of Shocking Cloud from the limitless old man. I'm afraid that old man won't be satisfied, so you have to be careful of Lu Che and the others." Chiu Cho suddenly came to Zhuowen's side and pointed at the limitless old man in the distance, who had ill intentions. Following Chiu Cho's finger, Yuan also saw the limitless old man and Lu Che whispering to each other in an inconspicuous corner. The two of them even glanced at Zhuowen from time to time. "Thank you for your reminder, Senior Chiu." Zhuowen narrowed his eyes. In fact, he also knew that Lu Che and the others would not be satisfied. With his current strength, he was not afraid of Lu Che at all. Even if the entire King Chu city came, Yuan was not afraid at all. "I'm just afraid that you won't follow. If you do, then don't blame me for being ruthless." Zhuowen's eyes flashed with a cold light as he thought to himself, "Yuan, Gu Xian and Hu Wuing, the three of you should go as well. Try to be cautious in the dark forest." Gu Yutian waved his hand and said, "But." Zhuowen and the other two looked at each other and nodded. With a step, the three of them flew in their own direction. At this moment, all the people in the square had moved. In a short few minutes, the originally crowded square had become somewhat deserted. In a corner of the square, the limitless old man looked coldly at Zhuowen's departing figure and said indifferently, "Lu Che, it seems that Jun is also heading north. It seems like he's the same as you. Bring a few more men and follow Zhuon. It's best to kill him in the dark forest. Our King Chu city's limitless shocking cloud art is not that easy to take. Also, look at how Zhuowen casually took out the refined crystal jades. I'm afraid that there are many good things in his Qiankuan bag. If you kill that kid, I'll give you half of the things in his Qiankuan bag." Lu Che cupped his hands slightly and said with some hesitation, "Sir, Zhuowen's ranking on the divine tablet is higher than mine. I'm afraid that his strength is above mine. Even if I bring a few men, it will still be difficult to kill that kid completely. So, don't worry. Since I've asked you to kill that little bastard, I naturally won't let you get away so easily." With that, the limitless old man waved his right hand and took out 3 golden talismans from his Qianquan bag. He handed them to Lu Che and said, "These 3 talismans were personally refined by me. They contain half of my attack and are comparable to the full strength of an ultimate Emperor Realm cultivator. You only need to use one to kill that little bastard. As for the other 2, you can use them to save your life in the future." Lu Che's eyes immediately filled with joy when he heard this. He hadn't thought that the limitless old man would actually give him such a talisman in order to kill Zhuan. After all, a single talisman was equivalent to the full-strength attack of an ultimate Emperor Realm cultivator. It was enough to kill any cultivator below that realm. Although the value of a talisman like this couldn't compare to a royal tier armor skill, it was comparable to a refined crystal jade. It was extremely valuable. "Don't worry, sir. With this talisman, Din is dead for sure." Lu Che's face was filled with joy as he cupped his hands. "Let's go. Don't let Zhuan get too far away." The limitless old man waved his hand. Lu Che nodded. With a stomp of his foot, he turned into a bolt of black lightning and rushed in the direction Zhuan had gone. "Little bastard, I'm afraid you won't have the fortune to enjoy the limitless startling cloud art that you won from our Chu Ba Cheng. If it weren't for the fact that our city lord couldn't leave the training grounds, I wouldn't have wasted those 3 talismans that I painstakingly refined. I hope that Lu Che won't screw this up." Chapter 441. Cultivating the Limitless Art of Startling Cloud. "Everyone, follow me to the top of the mountain. We will wait there for the participants who have passed all the trials." Lu Nantian smiled. With a wave of his sleeve, a ball of blazing golden light shot out from his hand, transforming into a golden circle that was dozens of meters wide. The golden circle continuously rotated and enveloped everyone in the plaza. With a swoosh, everyone disappeared from the plaza. In an instant, the plaza that had been bustling with activity was completely empty. The only thing that remained was the gigantic heaven and earth tablet that stood in the center of the plaza. The dark forest stretched for thousands of miles and covered a vast area. Strange and twisted black trees grew within it. These black trees were extremely peculiar. The branches and leaves that grew from them were purplish-black in color. Moreover, these branches and leaves would emit a strange black mist from time to time. Therefore, the dark forest was always shrouded in a black mist that obscured one's vision. Even if an ultimate Emperor Realm cultivator with extremely strong 5 senses entered the dark forest, they would not be able to see more than 10 meters away. Moreover, the dark forest was filled with danger. These dangers either came from the elusive origin beasts or from the traps that had already existed. Therefore, the numerous cultivators who entered the dark forest advanced cautiously. They only sought stability and did not seek speed. Only in this way would they be able to smoothly arrive at the training mountain. Swoosh! A figure that was as agile as a monkey quickly traversed through the forest. When this figure arrived at an empty space, he stopped and muttered in a low voice, "This dark forest really lives up to its name. The light inside is so weak, it's like walking at night." Zhuan looked at the pitch-black environment around him and spread his hands helplessly. One had to know that the dark forest was thousands of miles long. Even if he traveled at full speed day and night, it would still take him a month's time. Of course, this was not very likely. After all, the dark forest was filled with danger. No one would be foolish enough to travel at full speed. If one exhausted all their strength in advance, it would be an act of suicide. Let's walk slowly. He could use this time to cultivate the limitless art of startling cloud that he had obtained from the everlasting old man. This way, he would be able to increase his strength by quite a bit. Xiaohei, help me pay attention to the dangers around me at all times. I am preparing to practice the limitless shocking cloud art. After pondering for a moment, Zhuan said to Xiaohei in his heart. Xiaohei's divine sense had a much greater range than his spiritual energy. If he had Xiaohei to help him detect the dangers around him, Zhuan would undoubtedly have a much easier time. Don't worry. Leave everything to me. You just need to focus on your cultivation. With your current speed, you'll need at least 2 months to reach the training mountain. You can use these 2 months to improve your cultivation. When the time comes, you'll have a better chance of entering the training mountain, Xiaohe replied lazily. Zhuo nodded. With a flip of his right hand, he took out the jade scroll of the limitless shocking cloud art. He began to wholeheartedly comprehend the contents of the jade scroll. 3 days passed in a flash. During these 3 days, Zhuan spent most of his time comprehending the limitless shocking cloud art. Because of Xiaohe's divine sense, Zhuan's journey during these 3 days was extremely easy. As long as he followed the route that Xiaohe provided, there would not be much danger. Of course, this so-called not much danger did not mean that there was no danger at all. Zhuan also encountered many meta beasts. However, because Xiaohe's divine sense avoided the overly powerful meta beasts in advance, the meta beasts that Zhuan encountered were generally not very powerful. Basically, he could deal with them easily. In the depths of the dark forest, on the branch of a withered towering tree, a slender figure sat cross-legged. Waves of surging aura constantly surged out from this figure, forming a substantial cloud of mist around this figure. Swoosh! Zhuan suddenly opened his eyes. A strand of light flashed through the depths of his eyes. With a stomp of his foot, Zhuan drifted down from the branch like he was riding a cloud. At the same time, Zhuan clenched his right hand behind him and suddenly drew out his blood-red spear. With a gentle shake of his right hand, countless blood-red spear images immediately fell down like raindrops. The dense cloud of mist in the surroundings immediately began to surge. The spear images suddenly changed. The cloud of mist immediately transformed into surging auras that revolved around the blood-red spear, causing every single move of the blood-red spear to contain the might of a mountain. At that moment, it was as if the tiny blood-red spear contained a towering mountain. It was heavy and powerful. Subsequently, Zhuan suddenly moved his fingers. The blood-red spear immediately began to revolve violently. The cloud of mist in the surroundings began to surge like a tempestuous wave. It actually formed a huge wave of clouds that raged and surged out in an area of several hundred meters with Zhuan at the center. Boom, boom, boom. The powerful force was like countless intersecting hurricanes. It directly crushed the trees in an area of several hundred meters, turning them into fine powder that drifted in the air. Ha! This startling cloud limitless art is really amazing. It's only at the initial level, but it already has such a powerful might. If it's at the advanced level, I'm afraid the cloud of mist in the surroundings will spread to several hundred meters away. Its might will be even more terrifying. Looking at the surrounding forest that had been razed to the ground, Zhuan nodded with satisfaction. The might of this startling cloud limitless art was still beyond his expectations. Although it was only a low-level Emperor-level armor skill, its might was already extraordinary. The startling cloud limitless art was not a purely offensive Emperor-level armor skill. Instead, it was a kind of auxiliary armor skill that borrowed the power of the clouds in the air to support the martial artist's moves. Thus, the martial artist's moves could display an extraordinary might. Just now, Zhuan had only waved the blood-red spear in an ordinary manner. With the support of the cloud power of the startling cloud limitless art, the power of his casual moves was comparable to the power of the most violent move of the Moon Demon Secret Codex, blood-bursting style. If Zhuan used the moves of the Moon Demon Secret Codex, with the support of the cloud power of the startling cloud limitless art, the power would be 20 to 30% stronger than before. Boy, you really lucked out. This kind of auxiliary Emperor-level armor skill can be said to be extremely rare. At that time, the Infinity Old Man didn't think that he would lose, so he boasted that he would use the startling cloud limitless art as a wager. Now that he has lost to you, I'm afraid that the Infinity Old Man doesn't even know where to cry. Xiaohe also clicked her tongue in amazement. You can only blame the Infinity Old Man for being too confident. At that time, I was only angry at the old man's attitude, so I proposed the wager. However, I didn't expect that the Infinity Old Man would use the Emperor-level armor skill as a wager. Who would have thought that he would end up overreaching himself in the end? Zhuan said gloatingly. The Infinity Old Man lost the Emperor-level armor skill, so he won't let it go so easily. I'm afraid that he has already sent Lu Che to make you stay in the dark forest forever. Xiao He said indifferently. I'm not afraid of Lu Che. After all, the former only has the strength of an ultimate Emperor level 2 wheel. He's not much of a threat to me. What I'm afraid of is that the Infinity Old Man will give Lu Che some powerful treasure. After all, my ranking on the Heaven and Earth tablet is higher than Lu Che's. The Infinity Old Man won't be so stupid as to directly send Lu Che to kill me. That would simply be sending him to his death. Zhuan secretly analyzed. The Infinity Old Man is a ruthless character. Since he dares to send Lu Che to kill you, he must have absolute confidence. So when the time comes and Lu Che catches up to you, it's best to be careful, Xiao He said cautiously. Zhuan nodded. With a stomp of his foot, he turned into a blur and disappeared from the clearing. Half a day after Zhuan left, 5 figures arrived at the clearing. The person in the lead had bare arms and short crimson hair. He gave off an arrogant aura. This person was Lu Che, who had chased after Zhuan. Looking around at the messy clearing, Lu Che smiled coldly. It looks like that Zhuan cultivated here for a period of time. Looking at the traces of destruction on the tree trunks, it's clear that they were destroyed not too long ago. That Zhuan shouldn't be far from here. Let's chase after him. A trace of viciousness appeared in Lu Che's eyes. With a stomp of his foot, he immediately led the 4 people behind him into the depths of the dark forest. A figure suddenly flashed through the dark forest and stopped on top of a withered black tree trunk. Zhuan frowned slightly. Xiao He, are you sure there's someone chasing after us? Do you think this dragon lord would lie to you about something like this? There's a dense forest 500 meters behind you. There are 5 figures rushing towards you at high speed. It looks like it's Lu Che's group. Xiao He's indifferent voice resounded in Chu Feng's mind. As expected, they followed. This time, I'll make sure that Lu Che doesn't return. Hearing this, a trace of killing intent flashed across Zhuan's eyes. You'd better be careful. It's best if you don't face them head-on. I can feel that the auras of Lu Che's group aren't weak. They've probably brought along the other 2 Ultimate Emperor Realm cultivators from Chu Bacheng's group. It's best if you ambush them. There's a small valley 50 meters ahead. You can set up an ambush there. Hee, Xiao He said sinisterly. Nodding his head, Zhuan took a step forward and flashed forward. Soon, he arrived at the small valley that Xiao He spoke of. The environment of the small valley was even darker than the forest. It was so dark that one couldn't even see one's fingers if one stretched out one's hand. Even with Zhuan's powerful eyesight, he could only see things 50 meters away. He basically couldn't see anything further. Actually, Zhuan was a little puzzled. The light in the dark forest was so weak that it was very difficult to track a person. What he couldn't understand was that Lu Che's group was clearly quite far away from him. How could they have been prepared to pinpoint his position? I'm afraid that Old Man Wuji did something to the jade strip of the limitless art of startling cloud. Otherwise, with the cultivation of Lu Che's group, it's not very likely that they would be able to pinpoint your exact location in the dark forest. Xiao He reminded, you're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.